Listen, babe. Oh, yeah. It's alright, alright, alright. Listen, babe. Oh, yeah. It's alright, alright, alright.
going crazy. This shit's about to go down. The music's playing. I got background music.
What?
Hey.
What the fuck is going on?
I'm Court Smith. This is Nana Kofenti.
Hey,
back.
what's happening?
I'll get you for that one. Hey, this is going to be a great class tonight. We have a lot to cover. I had a good 2 weeks off. How about you, bro?
Got it cracking.
Yeah. You went to Atlanta without me?
No.
Okay, just because you can't be saying that, bro. You can't be saying that. You make me nervous because I'm gonna get real emotional. Anyway, so back to being normal people. So yeah, I had a good time off. I decided while I was off not to listen to or not to read anything I typically read or listen to anything I typically listen to. And the reason I want to do that is because a lot of times we think business is all about just reading business books, and business is about understanding life. And so sometimes it's good just to break away. And so, there's a couple of things I think I want to share before we jump in the heat of everything. Hopefully everybody's okay. Everybody's doing good. I don't know if I should say Cinco de Mayo because that's really Mexican holiday. And, some folks from Mexico, it's like some things, like there's certain holidays you say to African Americans, we look at you kind of strange. Like if you said to us, Happy Jesse Jackson Day, we might look at you like,
Jesse Jackson got a day?
yeah, well, I'm just saying if he did, just in case he does, right? Because, social justice could do all kind of shit.
It's true.
So Cinco de Mayo definitely was a holiday where the Mexicans, the Mexican community beat, I think it was the French.
The French.
But it worked in America's favor. And so when it worked in America's favor, it's American-Mexican holiday, where in Mexico they don't even celebrate the holiday. So for those who do celebrate it, we can do both. How about this? For those of you who do celebrate it, happy Cinco de Mayo. And for those of you who don't celebrate it, I didn't say shit. That's how it works. I didn't say shit. So, and for those of you who are hella sensitive, I'm about to piss y'all off this whole year. So that's just how it is. But there's something that I ran across. Let's go by for a second. And we talked about it a little bit earlier today. And we don't have a slide for this next point, but it's something I think you should take notes on because I'm definitely, this next thing I'm going to share, it will crack your foundation. It's going to crack your foundation. So every week, I take time to discredit social justice, but I don't do it because I don't like the tribe of people who champion social justice. I attack the ideas because weekly, or when you look at the core of what drives the movement and the ideas behind the movement, those ideas are anti-growth ideas, right? It's almost ideas of keeping things the same as opposed to ideas of growth and change. Now, if I was teaching a class on loving yourself, I wouldn't touch social justice because maybe you need that. You know what I mean? Maybe you need that idea of self-pampering to feel better about yourself. But if you're trying to build in this class, it's necessary that we tap that foundation and we challenge those ideas. And it's this business principle. I forgot his name. Last name is Fitzgerald. He came up with this idea and said, in business, in order to be successful in business, you have to hold two opposite ideas in your mind and still move forward. Later on, there's a phrase that was coined, and it's called the tyranny of or. The tyranny of or. If you guys have a second at home, write down this word, the tyranny of or. This is going to be ground shattering. In society, we're often taught you either this or that. You either believe in this or that. You're either going to do this or that. You're going to either stand for this or that. And so even when you think and you move forward, you make decisions. I am this because I'm not that. Some of us even have emotional breakdown when we are this or that. When we run our businesses, we built this vision on this, not that. When we deal with customers, we're talking to this customer, not that customer. We look at politics, I'm voting for this, not that. Well, as an entrepreneur, you have to learn how to think in the context of and. You have to learn how to think about this and that, accept this and that. Have views that are totally opposite, and when you run your company, you show up to each view is aggressive as if you agree with both sides. What do I mean by that? I think you guys maybe I think some of you at home going, okay, I don't really get what you're saying to me. When you are, there's nothing in society that says this and that. You can be both. You know, the other day I talked about the police department, and I shared some of my views of compassion towards the police. But y'all know I'm black. Like, look at my hat. This hat ain't nowhere near as black as I am. And you might say, well, damn, I didn't know that's where you stood. No, I see both sides. Why do I see both sides? It's not because I am practicing the highest level of compassion. I'm practicing strategic thinking. I'm practicing the thinking of moving. When you move in a world that's extremely complex, we don't have the luxury to be this or that. This or that creates isolation and limited strategical thinking. This and that opens up the playing field for you. Look, there's this thing that we talked about, and we'll approach it, I think, next week in the slides. That if you're in business, this or that is the opposite of optionality. This or that is the opposite of optionality. In business, your number one goal is to create optionality. Why is that? In our brains, we're often talking amongst ourselves and say, Court, where are you going? Who do you want to be when you get older? What are you trying to do with your business? So as Court attempts to articulate where he wants to go or share his vision with you, after a certain amount of times of articulating that vision over and over, he starts to assume he knows where he's going. But true business navigation says that you can start on a journey, but you're not sure where you're going. Because when you run across unknown and uncertainty, that will shift your path, your direction and your destination. But if your focus is rigid, because your rigidity, you break your progress. Because you're trying to force something that ain't meant to go that way. So as an entrepreneur, you have to exercise optionality. Optionality means at every point in my business, I got to create multiple choices and never narrow myself down to only one choice. And so, one of the things that forces us into single choices is the whole idea of this or that. You know, I'm this kind of person. You can be that kind of person too. I believe in this. And you can believe in this as well. Some of us, when we run into that mental conflict, and this is very popular here, when we run into that mental conflict, we often find ourselves shutting down or unable to move forward. The whole idea of a cancel culture is that is an opposite thought to what I deeply believe. I can't deal with it. Shut it down. And we don't realize this. If we really understood the power of this or that, advice would be totally different to us. Advice can be totally opposite to what you believe, and you have no motivation or conviction to dive into why you have the other position. Because you accept that, oh, this is another idea from what I already understand, so this or that allows me to have a broader group of choices. But when you're, I mean, when you're in this and that, but when you this or that, then those extra ideas are wasted time. That's not what I believe in. I'm very narrow in my perception of where I want to go. This and that is also what they found from large corporations and businesses. Is businesses that built the this and that mindset had longer sustainability and were able to last longer through ups and downs of businesses. Because when a business needed to pivot in its nature, in its character, in its personality, it was absolutely tolerated because they built the this and that approach. For companies who had a real rigid this or that, a shift in your original mission can bring down the morality of your whole team. Imagine if you go to your one of your technicians, you say, hey, listen, I know what I asked you to do, but tomorrow we're going somewhere else. And it's the total opposite of everything I painted 2 years of vision. They will think you betrayed them if you talk this or that. If you talk this and that, you can follow that conversation up because this is why. We're taking a different direction. My last point around this and that. For those of you who are artists, so I used to teach photography years back. Marquita doesn't know that because she looks at me surprisingly when I talk about photography as if, where did he get that from? But I used to teach photography back in the days. And I used to teach everybody all the basic rules of photography. And then when I got up to the end of the course, I said, okay, now break all those rules. The same thing applies to business. We provide you with a host of strategies and techniques and different mental models and adjustments to your distortions and fallacies and all kind of stuff. And some of you guys leave here with this or that rigidity, not realizing that there's a time for everything underneath the sun. I think that's the book of Ecclesiastes. Meaning that based upon the strategy you're in, sometimes doing the opposite is the best strategy.
It still bucked with me that you knew the book.
Yes.
What?
You understand me?
What?
let it go. Let it go because y'all going to trip
Let's
on my
not
next
skip over that shit. Let's just go.
And I think once you guys understand, our culture is built on this or that. We don't have a culture of this and that. People will call you some kind of weird person. People don't even want to listen to. I think they call that, what's a word for this? It's arbitrary, not arbitrary. I think of the word, it'll come back to me in a minute. But the average human being doesn't want to listen to a person who stands on the foundation of this and that. Most people, between me and you, go get jobs because they can't handle the idea of this and that. See, many of you guys are coming to this class and you want to build a business based upon this or that. This is what I believe in, and this is what I want to build, and I need to create this consistency in my life. Where as an entrepreneur, you may stand for this, understand this is where people sit, and it's designed for the opposite. That's this and that. And that type of thinking, the this or that creates the flexibility and the optionality that's necessary for you to be an agile engine in a world of ever-changing and challenges.
Yo, this is huge. Understand this too, because it's hella game in this, is the way the system is created and the way us as humans are framed. We have thick walls around our compartments in life because we're so rigid. The society has designed us to be rigid based on ethnicity, where you live, what you listen to, how you dress. All those variables create those boxes around you, and most people don't even look outside those silos their whole life. They used to call it with us the 5-block radius. Most of us who grew up in East Oakland or West North, whatever, never went outside their 5 blocks. We used to think San Francisco was hella far.
Yeah.
Because and I'm from this block, I'm from this. And transferring this to business is that good businesses know that most of us are stuck in these silos. I listen to hip hop, I don't listen to jazz. I listen to hip hop, I don't listen to rock. I don't listen to alternative. I only listen to hip hop. So I only listen to KMEL, and that's it. So a good business will run a commercial for hip hop heads. Yo, what up, type of commercial. And then the same business will have a smooth jazz commercial for the jazz heads. For those of you who are bilingual or multilingual, if you watch a McDonald's commercial for BET and then watch a McDonald's commercial for the Spanish channel, you think that they were focused and targeted only to us on BET. Man, the music, the soundtrack, the beat, the actors is all black folks. They fuck with us. But fuck around and turn to the Spanish channel and it's the exact same type of energy for them. Because understand, don't get your personal integrity caught up in your business integrity. Don't get your personal loyalties caught up in your business loyalties. I'm a loyal friend. I'm a loyal human. I have personal integrity in how I get down as a human. But in business, like everything is on the table. And it's a matter of what's the winning strategy. And most of the time, if you're looking at, all right, who are my customers? Where are they? What's the data show me? What can I be? Ooh, you know what? I think it might be a good idea to take this product that we sell to this demographic and put it over here because they might benefit from it too. And let's do the research so that we can gather as many in that crowd as possible. Like being and business is one of the best ways that can prevent you from going broke.
Yeah, let me add to that too. There is a lot of businesses that are principal businesses. I mean, by principal businesses, I am in business because of this the principle I stand on. Or this is my belief. And then there's businesses that are profit-focused businesses. I don't have a belief. I'm here to make money. So you say, well, which one should I be, Nana? Both. There are businesses that say, I'm playing the long game. And there's businesses saying, I'm trying to get this immediate win. Nana, which one should I be? Both. There's businesses that say that, at the end of the day, we're about rigid, conservative processes. Another one says we're edgy and risky. Which one should I be? Both. But in this or that world, we are over-anchoring ourselves on one side or the other. And so what's critical for us to actually grow, and this is something we should start practicing in our personal life, is if you're in a room and somebody's saying something this is why arguments for entrepreneurs become less and less and less. As we start to grow in the and mentality, we can allow you to exist in a room with us and totally be opposite and be cool with it. Because both can exist. What happens with a lot of entrepreneurs who argue is they're stuck into this or that. And if I go here, I can't be this person. And if I go here, I can't be this person. I even said it, remember it was about 2 years ago, I used to say, hey y'all, pay attention to your dark side because your dark side has more power than you realize. When you look at a group of people in a crowd, you only see their good side, their best behavior. But what's driving a lot of the decisions is that dark side they have no control over. Then the person who's a Christian says, no, I can't be that. I'm only this. No, you this and that. But if I'm this, I can't be that. No, you're both. Once you accept that, The power you have in your light, you can have the same amount of power in your darkness.
Yeah, and did you know even religiously, you have Christians and Muslims and Buddhists and Sikhs and yogis and all these different types of religions that people have these long, hard, strong walls against each other. But did you know at a certain level, even within each faction of Christianity and Buddhism or Islam, there's a level higher that they call themselves mystics, where they're beyond religion and they all hang out. So Gandhi will hang out with the Pope and hang out with all the other top tier religious leaders in those groups, and they share ideas and they don't disagree with their, and they find that they have more things in common about their beliefs and religious ideals than they disagree with. But on the level of religion, I know this sounds tough to hear, but on the level of religion, we back arguing and fighting, throwing our Bibles at each other. So there is a possibility to agree with other ideals, things that you may be like, I'm sitting in this Christian space and I'm gonna stay there. But you know what? I don't hate them. As a matter of fact, I see where there are similarities there, and I agree with some of the stuff over there, and that's okay too.
Which he literally threw an alley-oop to our opening subject. So this weekend, we okay technically? Okay. So this weekend, when I was 23, 24 years of age, I left Christianity at 21, the religion of Christianity at 21. And it was hard, extremely hard. I'll tell you why, because I won't go into this no more, but I was extremely hard because I was deep in religion. And I walked away because I questioned everything. Everything was up for questioning. I refused just to accept because my mama told me, because my partner told me, because this is what they told me at school. Because all those areas had areas where they had collapsed as far as my trust. So I felt it was up to me, if I want to call myself a man, then I need to be able to stand behind what I believe. And at this point, if you would have drilled me at 21, I couldn't really stand. I couldn't really argue why. I could just say, well, this is what I always did. That's not an argument. And I knew that at the age of 21. So I picked up the book Malcolm X Speaks, and I became instant militant. I'm talking about the extreme. I was extreme. Of course, y'all know I'm not extreme now, but at the time I was extreme. Y'all need to fix your voice. Anyway, so there was this book I went to Marcus Bookstore in Oakland, and I grabbed this book called, by this author, it was these small little books by The Philosophy of Howard Thurman. And folks was running around going, African-centered, African-centered. I was like, what the hell are they talking about? So I decided to grab the book again. I opened a book, and I read this book by Howard Thurman, and I realized he was just a theologian. And I wasn't against theologians. I had just read Joseph Campbell's book about mythology. And so I said, okay, I'm not against it. I'm just kind of uncomfortable if you get too religious on me. But I didn't really finish his books. I read a little bit by what some of his wife's material. She was brilliant. And I read some of his material. But what I did learn from Howard Thurman is about being centered. What does centered mean? And that helped me understand when I called myself African-centered, what that meant. But then I put his book down, and I didn't pick it up until this weekend. I picked up some of his old material from Howard Thurman. I found an audio book. I said, I'm going to listen to some Howard Thurman because I admire Howard Thurman. Howard Thurman is actually what we call a mystic. He came up through Christianity, but he was so high in his knowledge and understanding that other denominations didn't see him as just a Christian. He was seen as a mystic, which is a much higher level. And for those of you who took the class last year, we introduced you to Sadhguru. Well, Howard Thurman is our black version of Sadhguru. Brilliant beyond brilliant. Howard Thurman said this one idea at the opening of his book. He said, the truth is not in religion because it's religion. The truth isn't religion because it's truth. I say that's powerful. That's powerful. I don't think y'all understand. That's really powerful. Because sometimes, in our community, we argue truth based upon some religious affiliation. But the truth, he said, is in religion, not because it's religion. The truth is in religion because it's truth. I mean that religion didn't make the truth. Truth was the truth, and then religion found it and used it to bring religion to the forefront. But one of the things he talked about, and hang with me on this one. This is another deep one. I told you I have 2 deep openings because I spent some time listening to Howard Thurman, and I was like, I was hanging out at the gym, and I told Irk and Silence, hey, my man, y'all need to pick this book up. And the first thing he hit us with, I'm going to just quickly jump over this one, but it's going to kind of like all connect. He made this one opening point. He said, you cannot love yourself if you are anonymous to yourself. You can't love yourself if you are anonymous to yourself. Why is that so deep? Because somehow we turn self-love into self-pampering. See, we turn self-love into this really soft, touchy-feely, burn the candles, take a bath, go to Napa, have fancy dinner with your friends, spend some time by yourself, get a full massage, lay in the mud, sleep with some cucumbers on your eyes, wake up, and I love myself. Only to find 2 weeks later you back at square one. We turn self-love into a social justice soft engagement. We want to engage the soft stuff, We think the way we hug our baby at night is the way we should love ourselves. Just give ourselves a hug, and that's self-love. I just love myself now. Go buy myself something. Buy myself a nice car. I'm gonna get myself pampered, get my nails done. For men, they get the nails done. None of us get his nails done, so let it go. So anyway, it's okay, bro. Anyway, point is this, and so
I wear roses.
Stop. Just stop before we can turn this somewhere else. Stop. So I thought that was very important because we have this new idea of self-love that doesn't require us to engage courage. Because self-discovery is an act of courage. Self-discovery is very, very frightening. See, you can hide behind all the stories you tell yourself and all the beliefs, but self-discovery is an act of courage. But through that act of pain, engagement of pain, the reward is self-love. I don't think y'all understand how powerful that is. Y'all been told all these little different things about, meditate, chant, play with your cats. Don't you ever do that again to me? For the women, pause. But I hate everybody around me. But the thing is that when have you ever had somebody tell you that self-love was an act of courage, of self-discovery? That's powerful. So then he went on to say, he talked about, what's the word he said, I almost got it right. The nerve center of consent. That's the phrase he used. The nerve center of consent. I don't even speak like that. That's Howard Thurman is brilliant, so he uses words in the most magnificent way. And where he was going with this is this. Quite often, because of Greek theology, we separate the inner from the outer. These are notes. Please take notes, because I'm giving y'all some of the coldest game. I'm talking about such cold game that I might fuck up your sleep tonight. But he said, because of Greek theology, we separate the inner from the outer. And what he highlighted was, quite often you will see a businessman and say he represents the outer. Quite often many of us represent the outer because life demands that of us, right? We go through life and I gotta take care of this, gotta get this fixed, gotta work on this, gotta solve this, gotta adjust this, gotta move this around. And then spiritual people, quite often, is seen as representing the inner. And quite often we separate those two. And in that separation, we'll say, well, you know, if the outer man starts to talk inner, he seems kind of weird. And if the inner person starts to talk outer, he or she is betraying their religious and spiritual space. And his argument is that once you separate the inner and outer, you are not functioning as a whole. For both support each other. The outer world and your habits change your inner world. And your inner world shapes the way you engage your outer world.
Amen, brother.
He made this one point. He said, some of us are so inner. He said, but when you're that inner, you got to ask yourself a question. He said, you know, the spiritual ones he's talking to, he said, how can you go to heaven when your brothers and sisters are living in hell? No, he said, how can you be happy in heaven if your brothers and sisters are living in hell? That the inner and the outer is connected. Then he went on to talk about this professor that he knew. And they were all having dinner together. He started to examine the professor's speech. In the professor's speech, the professor would use a phrase all the time, which was, so to speak. So him and his friends decided to run a tally. You know what a tally is? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And they ran a tally every time he used the word, so to speak. So at the end of the lecture, they decided to reveal how many times he said, so to speak. And when they revealed how many times he said, so to speak, the professor was shocked. He said, I didn't know I said, so to speak, so many times. So the next time the professor was assigned to give a lecture, just when he got ready to say, so to speak, he froze and changed the words. It ended up being the worst presentation known to man. It was hard for the audience as well as hard for him. Because he started to see how the inner, what he was thinking, and the outer, which is his words, were not synchronized. So then he realized, once he started to gain awareness of himself and the so to speak, the next time he says so to speak, he said it so well because why? He meant it. Many of us can't even, part of self-awareness, going back to love, the reason we cannot actually gain hold of self-awareness is because we are out of sync between the inner and the outer. When the inner feels one way and the outer is doing something else, and those two are separated, your ability to love yourself is being compromised. Mm-hmm. Now, he goes on to argue. This is when it gets a little rough. So for you sensitive people, take your pills. Because I think a lot of people are super sensitive. They're depressed, and I understand. I'm not mad at them, but they should probably take their medication and stop being really strong. You're not strong. You need your pills. But he says that some people, well, what they have a tendency to do is they live so inner because it's easy to withdraw from society. I mean, Howard Thurman, before I keep going, Howard Thurman is a beast. Black people, look, Irk said it best. He said, when he listened to Howard Thurman, he said, this is from a macho dude. He's macho. He's extremely macho. He's full of jokes, but he's more macho than I am. He said, it calms your spirit. He says, he sounds like the church I would want to go to. That was some powerful words he said at the gym. I'm paraphrasing. He might use some unique words. He might win. I can't do all that. I just know that's what he said, right? And that's what he meant. So, back to Howard Thurman. Howard Thurman specifically says that some people find pleasure on creating this idea of being an island. You know, God, I don't do those things. I don't drink. I don't smoke. Black folks out here are doing that shit, but I don't do these things. I'm different from everybody else. I don't engage these type of things. I'm pulling away from everybody. I'm this, I'm that, I'm this. You know what he called that? Arrogant pride. That's easy to digest, ain't it? When you pull away from society to self-praise where you stand, it's a form of arrogant pride. But here's where it's going to hit the rest of y'all in the jaw and make a tooth come out. All right, for that person who's really sensitive, hold on to something tight that you can squeeze. Cut it out. He said, but for those of you who are super rational, super logical, and I don't understand what's wrong with the people out here. And they're smart. They don't read the books we read. They don't have that. You know, it's hard for me now to be around these people who they just don't get it.
Oh, shit.
They just don't understand where I'm coming from. I'm on some higher level shit.
Oh, shit.
You know what he called that? Arrogant pride.
Oh, shit.
Man, I'm telling you, I had to stop my bicycle and rewind that piece and say it again. Because, you know, I struggle. I hear it all the time. You know, it's so hard now. You know, I'm learning in this class. It's really hard on me, man. Yeah, but you're developing arrogance and pride, which is an egotistical trait. See, once again, you don't get to isolate yourself. None of us live on islands. None of us live on islands. They said that Rome failed because Rome started to forget their social responsibilities. Everybody fell into what they wanted. Some of y'all gonna make money and just think about what you want and who you are and what you want to do and what it means to you. None of us live on an island. No matter what you do, not only do you need others, you will impact others. But the illusion that you live on an island by yourself, is causing nothing but long-term as well as short-term damage. Once you act with a sense of social responsibility, look, the black community is starving of that characteristic. If we understood social responsibility, the streets would clean up tomorrow. We would drive different. Businesses would open faster. We would work with our youth and realize they are our youth. It's almost like social justice told all of our soldiers and our warriors, we sent them to the front line of getting white people to accept us and left nobody at home to build the bridges. Because we've lost a sense of social responsibility. That's what I learned from Howard Thurman. That shit was powerful. I didn't learn it, but he put it in a way that I thought was just absolutely beautiful. I think the inner and outer, I didn't put that together at all. I didn't put together the way he framed self-love was absolutely amazing. But for him to bring it back to social responsibility and to say that for those of us who say, I am separated from everybody else because I'm not like them, is arrogant pride, as well as for those of you who say, they're not like me, Donna, it's the same arrogant pride. Can we move on, y'all? We okay? Those of you who's in the room with somebody depressed, tap them on the shoulder, tell them it's going to be okay. All right? Let's keep going. All right. So let's jump into some E-Myth. Let's get into some strategy. And I'm going to bring some of this E-Myth stuff to a deeper level as well, because there's some things in E-Myth that he's telling you, but I want you guys to own these principles. I don't want you guys just to read these principles and copy and paste them all over your wall, and yet your life's still the same. But I want you to go a little bit deeper and own it, and not only and be able to analyze it and apply it. Now, we're moving into the section of the book about franchising. Let me be very clear, as we talk about franchising, he's not telling you guys to build franchises. That's not what he's suggesting. I've told everybody, and I suggested to everybody, go home and watch The Prophet. And you'll see what the franchise idea is all about. I'm going to make this really simple for you. Really simple. Because some of you guys, I've heard some of you guys talk about franchising, and you confuse me. I mean, I call Irk up and I say, Irk, can I get some of that old marijuana? Because I'm confused now, and I need to get my mind back. Irk says, call me again. You ain't got enough money. But that ain't the point. So, I'm not saying Irk's a dealer. I'm just saying. So anyway, the point, and so, because dealers got no business too, right? So anyway, the point is this.
Car cloudies from smoke still. How about it?
So let me help y'all go to somewhere deeper. Fuck, I'll meet y'all with a third one. Can I hit them with a third one?
Hit him.
Fuck it. He gave me permission. If the killer say hit you, then I'm gonna hit you. All right, killer. This country and E-Myth is the same principle. America and E-Myth is the same damn principle. Before America, let's take Africa and let's take King Menes and King Pianki out of this conversation, because there's an argument that King Menes and Pianki had a democratic system. So just for the sake of respect to Africa, because we know that history is not being represented quite often, and the pre-Egyptian societies, a lot of that stuff is not represented fairly. So let's just pause Africa for a minute to know that we did produce a lot of this before Europeans, and let's always acknowledge that. I'm not trying to belittle that, but in the sake of this discussion, I want to, for the focus point of making this point, I want to stay right here. So in Europe, quite often, a nation was no stronger than its king or queen. Y'all heard me? Quite often, a nation was no stronger than its king or queen. So if you had a strong king, you had a strong run. If the son came along and he was soft, well, that's the end of your run. Same thing with the queen. You have a powerful queen, we have to do some things. The queen goes away, oh, shit. Then came America. America said, we're going to build a system where no one person can bring it down. A system that's so well designed that the average person can participate in the system and the system will stay strong. The system can no longer be destroyed by even the inheritance of those you pass it down to. That many owners can come and plug into that system, and that system will continue to drive its direction and have impact. E-Myth is trying to stop you from thinking like a king and a queen, and learn to think within systems.
That's it right there. That's it right there. Write that shit down.
That is that's why the ego makes you, hey king, hey queen, peace king, peace queen. You know you're a queen, sister. You know you're a king. Look, that egotistical bullshit. What we're trying to get you to understand is that that's cool for the streets. I mean, once again, you could be this and that. But when you get to this business thing, if you want sustainability, if you want robustness, if you want to be able to, Henry Ford impacted 15, wait for it, million families. One company impacted 15 million families. One company. For you to get to a point where you can impact 15 million black families, you're not going to achieve that from a king and queen status. You're going to have to move into a systemic way of looking at things. So the franchise idea is the idea of you're focusing on systems. And you're perfecting systems. And when something doesn't work, what's wrong with the system? And you make adjustments. And then when you plug people into those systems, it doesn't matter because the people can't bring the system down. So for now, when you guys go home and process it, understand that's the separation. The king and queen era, the aristocracy era, and the democracy era. That's the difference. Now, we're going to jump into this in a minute, but now you guys understand when the Constitution was written, now you're starting to see the power of writing it down, everything in your system. Because the Constitution is for continuity, for consistency.
Just to piggyback on that, that's why every state you drive in, you can go to the mayor's office, the governor's mansion, there's legislature, there's voting. The exact same system exists in every state, all 50 of them. And that's what, and if you get a bad term for, say, a mayor or whatever, or governor, and that person ends up being a shitty human or whatever, it doesn't crumble. And then the United States governs all 50 of them to make sure that they all are adhering to the basics of the system that was put in place. It's brilliant. It's brilliant. And it allows for there to be autonomy across all, as long as they hold each other accountable. So understand, if you're a business owner, your goal is to create a system like that. Is to where there's autonomy, you hold people accountable, but it's written and it's systematic, and it is a mind shift change. That's why what he said earlier was so dope. When we got to get out of that king and queen shit when it comes to business and jump directly into systems. My goal is to back the fuck out of this place, is to build this thing so I could take steps back to where over time, like years back, it was, man, I can't leave because people want Courtney to design their shit. Courtney. And I was like, I felt wanted, important. You feel important. You feel wanted. All the shit you ain't never had as a black human, right? You feel important. You feel wanted, desired. So why would I want to give that feeling up? If you want to grow. So you got to put things in place to back yourself up. Oh, yeah, well, me and my designer, Martin, we going to design it together, okay? I'm just going to make sure that I put my stank on it for sure, but me and him going to design it together. But he going to be the one emailing you back and forth. But I'm doing it with him. At the end, damn, Court, this is dope. Actually, Martin did the whole thing. So that shows me that Martin got it. And keep backing out. Because that... You derive your joy from the success of the system.
And the thing with the beautiful about the system is that this is the franchise idea. Is when you start to see a collapse in a business, the way you replicate something that spreads from California to New York is you examine the system and then you push a policy to tweak the system, and then you have an instant, large, big corporation, big business upgrade. When you're thinking king and queen, that idea has a glass ceiling. Mm-hmm. You only can go so far. You're almost trapped in small business language. Mm-hmm. You're too damn egotistically important.
Motown. They had departments that had systems in place. So it's not like one artist is going to come in and take us to the promised land. Nope. We build our systems in place, which he used to work at the Ford factory. That's how he got the idea of systems. So he used that same mentality to build a system in music. I'm gonna teach you how to write songs, how to stand, how to eat with forks and knives, how to dress, how to look, how to interview, and just run an artist through that. This shit is powerful.
Systems is everything. Now this next one, I'm probably... Shit, y'all gonna keep me deep for the night. I'm gonna tell some jokes in a minute. Because the business, Shabisha's our reader. I'm sorry. First of all, let me stop this. We want to introduce you to y'all at home. Those of you tuning in for the first time, the great Shabisha's here.
Shabisha,
the most magnificent, the most fabulous, wonderful. Untouchable.
in the world.
Man, look here. When she walk on the ground, there's no imprint. You know what I'm saying? That's how powerful she is. Anyway, thank you, Shabisha, for reading. Shabisha's going to be our official reader. Let's move forward. Thank you, Shabisha.
Thank you. All right, be serious. Okay. Because the business format franchise is built on the belief that the true product of a business is not what it sells, but how it sells it. The true product of a business is the business itself.
Okay. Do me a favor. Get your pen and paper out again. We got to hit it one more time. This is going to get heavy as hell. This was one of those points where if you don't get this point here, this could screw you, permanently screw you. You know where, the thing is what you guys don't know is because the romanticism of starting a business for black folks is so rich, we really study the history of businesses and understand business growth in context. The worst thing you can do in a business when you first start is love your product or have a good idea. I think I talked this a few months ago. The worst thing you can do in business is have a great idea and fall in love with your product. Do you understand how many great businesses started way by, they may say, hey, we're going to be making sandwiches for a living. And by the time they got through, they were producing televisions. You said, what the hell happened? Because when they built the business, they didn't build a business around a product. They built a strong business. And when the opportunity revealed itself, the business was designed to pivot and exploit the opportunity because it stayed in alignment with how they wanted to show up in society. Mm-hmm. So you got to have values of who do you want to be and how do you want to show up in society. But where we go wrong is we love our product so much. This is what's happening in businesses. Two companies can start at the same point. One company says, we love our business and we're going to build a great business. One company says, we love our product and we're going to build a great business around that product. And then what happens is that when that product is no longer valued or that product is having problems, that company will just stay in there and continue to hit that same wall, form of insanity. A person who builds a great business who happens to have a product, they're always looking at, should I stay with this product or should I pivot to the next opportunity? Should I stay with this product or should I pivot to the next opportunity? And what you'll find is that company will be here 30, 40, 50, 60 years from now. Mm-hmm. You'll be surprised how many companies who were, like, for example, I think Sony at one point was selling bean soup.
Sony, Samsung, Toyota,
all those
Hyundai.
All those companies. None of them companies are who you are in your maturity. You should see what they started as. If you look at those businesses and say, what type of business were they in or coming up, it will blow your mind how some of those businesses have nothing in common.
Think of soup. I think they were a soup company.
Yeah, they were a soup company.
Yeah.
Like you if you're in this business game, if you build a strong business, whatever opportunity is revealed to you, you're going to be okay. There's a rule that says the best way to exploit luck is persistence. The best way to exploit luck is persistence. You obviously understand that in business, there's a lot of luck. But you can't be persistent when you're stuck in a this or that approach. If Kevin Allen with Grand National takes off, and he loves Grand National right now, but if another opportunity yields itself or reveals itself, and he has a strong business structure, and he told me, no, I didn't take the idea because I just want to bring Grand National to fruition, I'm going to walk out the room. I won't even look back at him. If Fern with Black Vines, she loves Black Vines, but if she's out there doing business and an opportunity that is provided to her or revealed to her that she did not expect, that can yield a whole different level of business, she takes her business model and she shifts it to the new idea. Now, once again, you don't be Mickey Ficky. We ain't talking about just jumping around. But there's a difference, like when you're in business for a certain amount of time, your business will sometimes create a new market. It will reveal a new market because the way you're doing business, it's almost like you're breaking this rock to go get gold, and all of a sudden you find there's diamonds falling from this rock over here. And you realize the only reason you discover diamonds is because you was bringing friction and pressure to this rock over here. And as you bring friction and pressure, Some of you will ignore the diamonds because you're in love with gold. What you have to do is say to yourself, wait a minute, I'm a business first. Some of you have fell in love with the product, and this is why you're horrible business people, because all you're trying to do is make a single ideal work because you're trying to make a statement. You're trying to prove a point.
Let's bring back pride and arrogance, right? Let's bring it back, because you think about big giant companies like Blockbuster, who you can stand next to the wave and see the wave coming, and you're so stuck in what you're selling and not the process itself. Somebody else right next to you can come and take over that wave. That's there's a sense of pride and arrogance in there, as well as if you built your business just on selling VHS tapes. We sell VHS tapes. They did, because I watched their documentary, they worked so hard to work with the movie industry and work with the Motion Picture Association to get those movies in those VHS tapes, that when a new wave came, they just would not budge. They wouldn't budge, because they were committed to selling those tapes versus building a system for people to have an experience in watching movies or watching
This
films.
or that. I promise you're going to see that theme come up so much, it's going to blow your mind. So loving your products, loving your business, like Court said earlier, and this book's going to say it a little bit later, your business is not you. Your business is not you. Your business is like the clothing you're wearing right now. You may love every piece of the outfit you have on. You may take care of that outfit. But when that time is over, you move on, unless you want to be that dude wearing a 1970 outfit at the club. Then you got other issues. Next.
Ray Kroc was determined that the customer would not equate inexpensive with inattentive or cheap.
Keep going.
Nowhere had a business ever paid so much attention to the little things, to the system that guaranteed the customer that her expectations would be fulfilled in exactly the same way every time.
Do me a favor. Close your eyes. This is a fun exercise. When it comes to Disney, I'm going to say the word Disney. What pictures come to your mind? 1, 2, 3, stop. I say Columbia Pictures. What images come to your mind? 1, 2, 3. Guess what? With Columbia Pictures, how many of you guys had images? Be real. Not that many, did you? Yeah, but when it came to Disney, how many pictures came to your mind? Right. What you guys don't realize is that if you don't pay attention to a lot of details in business, some of us, this is that inner outer thing. It's so cold. The more you are self-aware, the more you increase awareness, the more you pay attention to the most smallest details. I was talking to a friend this weekend. I was talking to Shakir's father. And I said, the higher you climb in business, the more you question those simplest words. You would say, what's the difference between I and me? What's the difference between this or that? When you're lower in business, you just assume those things, and you treat those things like they're the tracks that your train will run on. But as you grow in business, you have to get into those details. Because if you don't get to those details, it's almost close to impossible to take this idea and put it into the minds of the customer. And then once you put it in the minds of the customer, can you shape those ideas in the minds of the customer? But what happened is that we're leaving everything up to chance. I'm gonna do this, and hopefully it has an impact. I'm gonna do this, and hopefully it has an impact. What made Ray Kroc so amazing? Same thing that made Gillette so amazing. Something that made Ford so amazing. Same things that make Apple so amazing. They pay attention to every small detail. And what I mean by every small detail, this is why you have to work on your business, not in your business. You have to get to the point where you watch a person get out their car and they walk into your business. You gotta watch a person open the box when they receive your product or service. You want to see how a person responds when you lead them with your products or services. You want to know every possible detail of the human experience. You have to, once again, I said this a couple of classes ago, you have to be possessed.
Obsessed
With your customer. Not possessed. Possessed. Yeah, pause.
Sorry, Christians. Sorry, Christians. Sorry, Christians.
I was doing good. Chris is like, nope, we over. Cancel.
Canceled him.
You have to be obsessed.
You should do it this way. You got to be possessed. They'd be hella mad.
Well, you have to be obsessed with your customers. Some of us are so in our, and here's, let me go back to something I said before in class, and maybe you guys thought I was just, see, I don't teach stuff in this class. Everything we teach in this class is speculations. It's speculative. Everything we teach. Everything. Meaning that none of us 100% can say, nobody, nowhere can 100% say that everything we share or teach is 100% facts. Facts are relative to what we know. As humans evolve, as we learn more, facts absolutely can adjust and change. So, which is important that you understand that when you take a class, everything is speculative, because that means you don't give the responsibility of choices to other people. You could never say Nana says, court says. See, Nana and court says can be a reference point, but the decision still falls on you to make. Right? So everything is speculative. But in business, I talked about this before. We can become so narcissistic or in ourselves, or I need to pay attention to why I felt this way today. Today, I got up this morning and I just, I woke up and my energy was off. And I had to really just process myself again. And here's the thing, and then you go to work and you go, am I really doing a good job? I wonder if I'm really qualified to do this. I wonder if I'm really an imposter. I wonder if it's okay for a black person to be in this industry. I'm going to prove to these people I'm really deserve to be here. Guess what you're not doing? You don't see the customer no more. All these conversations you're having is with yourself. You're going to have to stop talking about yourself for a few minutes and just look at other people. Study people. Watch people. And then learn people. And then activate this and that. They can say, you might have sold the product to them because you said to yourself, I'm going to sell this bottle of water because it's going to quench their thirst. The person says, I love this bottle of water because it stimulates my body and gets me ready for sex. I didn't sell it for that. That's not your choice. This and that. And if that's what the customer said, they like your water, guess what? This is going to be the most sexiest water you've ever drank. That's what the next commercial is going to have. This person going, I'll be there in a minute, woman. I think sometimes we get into this over-controlling what we want and not recognize that what people want and what you want sometimes can absolutely split. And so, but if you don't pay attention to customers, you run and ask every day about, aren't you thirsty after running 20 miles? The person's like, I don't drink this shit for no 20 miles.
Service. So here's a deal. Entrepreneurs, man, this all ties in so beautifully. So fucking beautifully. So you think about the king and queen mentality versus a system mentality. The king and queen mentality is a I. The system mentality is a you. So because a system is always being defined and refined and modified based on user input, on customer input. So it starts with the place of a service to the customer, and it moves with the place of service to the customer. So if you don't have a service mentality, meaning that you're always looking of how can I serve you? How can I serve you better? Like, oh, you loved it? Okay, well, if there's one thing that I can improve on, what would that be? If you don't move like that, it's hard for you to even understand this conversation. It's hard for you to even, this is flying right past your head right now. So if you are the type of person that things have to be brought to you and the world has to revolve around you, or then being an entrepreneur, a successful one, is going to be tough because You have to take that shit off and sit there and be obsessed with your customer. Like, man, what do all my customers drink? What kind of water do they drink? What kind of alcohol? What are they thinking right now? What are they doing? What's their frustrations? That should be the constant thought. And if you can solve those micro problems at all times, just continue to knock down those little micro problems that are seemingly no big deal. It'll be a trip to see what feedback you get from customers, and most of the time it's not the big shit you did to solve the customer problem. It was that one little thing. Like, how the fuck I told that dude that I liked Voss water 3 years ago, and now I come to pick up my stuff and it's Voss water in there, and he offers it to me. Not that I spent $10,000 on a business software that helps me manage things better. Not that I upgraded my this or that. That cost me hella money. I changed $1 bottles to $2 bottles, and that's what he thought about, because it's the little things on top of the big things, and that's how you get them for life. That's how you keep them.
Yeah, I mean, the number one goal of a business is to find customers and keep them. Find customers and keep them. But the reason you can't keep customers is because you're trying to please them. See, pleasing me don't require for you to give me what you think. It's giving me what I want. And to give me what I want, you can't ask me because I can't tell you. So you have to observe me to get there. I mean, it's a cold look. You know another thing. Go back to. I want to go back to something real quick. In order for you to understand customers, let me show you how this or that will play a role. You go home to your friends and family, you're like, guess what this customer did yesterday? They pissed me off. You just fucked up. Because you know what you just did? They didn't do what I think they should have done. And so I'm not mad. I'm mad. If you're a business, you sit down, you say to yourself, they did something outside of my expectations. What is it I don't see? Huge difference. That's it right there. See, this and that says they can do something totally opposite to what you believe, and you just need to understand it. This or that says if they're not doing this, they're doing that, and that's not what I stand for, and it'll piss me off.
Got shit to do with you.
And shit to do with you. Other video, I think that he said, I just want to double tap real quick. When you decide you want to become a leader, you just decided to be a servant. Let me say this real quick. When you decide you want to be a leader, you just decided to be a servant. No, you don't get to walk around with your chest stuck out. Some of y'all can't help it. And you understand me. And and at this point, think that you're just supposed to follow your great ideas. The reality is that you are now in a position where you have to serve people. Leadership is serving.
Yep.
And I think that's where we get it fucked up. That's where we get it fucked up. When you start leading based upon a self-conceived notion or idea of what people want, you're betraying people. You're not leading people. Next slide. Sister? Praise God.
The system. You switched the slide real fast on me. Okay. The system isn't something you bring to the business. It's something you derive from the process of building the business.
Chicago, but they're
All right, can we keep rolling? We rolling? All right. Did they lose anything, or did I just catch it on time? Okay, huh? Oh, camera's on me. Okay. Shabisha, you want to, let's just go over that first one again.
Sure.
Let's roll. Plus, we're gonna end after this slide here. We open to Q and A, and then we'll jump into Eagles enemy. Go ahead.
I can't.
Yeah, turn your microphone on. Make sure it's on.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes,
Yes, we can.
yes.
All right.
Okay.
There you go.
The system isn't something you bring to the business. It's something you derive from the process of building the business. The franchise prototype is the answer to the perpetual question, how do I give my customer what he wants while maintaining control of the business that's giving it to him?
So let me say this real quick. That should relieve pressure off your chest. I said this earlier. I'm gonna just repeat this. That should take pressure off your chest. You don't have to start a business landing with a perfect system. You move through the business and you build a system as you go. I think that's where some of us are trying to rush to get an A and not realizing that you won't achieve an A if at some point if it's not about going in with a perfect idea. You're constantly adjusting the system based upon the customer needs. And in that process, it says you have to give the customer what he wants while maintaining control of the business that's giving it to him. So when you build those systems, how do you provide the customer with what they want through this system consistently? And that means that system is not static. It will always adjust and change based upon customer needs and wants and desires, because customers are not static.
So here's something too. If you're driving on the freeway, how many of you out there are hella good at reading headlights at night that are behind you? How many of you know when it's a police headlight? Have you memorized the type of headlight, the roundness of it, the brightness of the headlight? Pretty much, yeah, you got that, right? Because the desire and the fear and all those emotions that charge you made your system 2 and system 1 pay attention heavy. Up, let me pull off the brake. Up, I know them headlights. Because you focused on it because of those fears. Same thing. When you focus on the micro, a lot of times not a lot of times. To me, there's no fucking way you can build a perfect system from a piece of paper from the start. You start by just getting there and doing it. It could be raggedy as fuck. That's called a Rev 0. It's called a Rev 0. So everybody has a Rev 0. What's my Rev 0 right now? Shit, just piecing it, just going for what I know. But guess what happens? When you go for what you know and you have a desire to improve, what you know now is embedded in your system, goes from your system 1 brain to your system 2 brain, and now your system 2 is coming up with better ideas. Shit, I noticed we did this last time. Maybe we should try this to go a little bit faster. System 1 brain says, okay, boom, you try it. Oh, that shit was faster. You change that. Now it's Rev 0.1. And that's the game you play. Who gives a fuck what it looks like right now? 6 months from now, you at Rev 2. And it looks like you a well-oiled, beautiful-ass machine that started from, And then they say, man, you should have seen what that shit looked like when we started. And that's the way it's supposed to be. But it comes from continuing to focus in those micro changes in your brain as you're working through it.
So with that being said, you want to open up some questions because we want to give us time to jump into Eagles the enemy. So let's open up any questions that anybody may have at home. We dropped a lot of stuff today. We got Shabisha in the house. Let in-house get first, and then we'll let the phone.
Now, online said they thought they'll turn the sound off so they could have processing time.
Hey, that's time.
They thought it was processing deep.
That's called turn lead into gold. Hey, real quick, make sure all the light levels are right. The levels look right on the sound. From the look at the both software. All the software. Yeah. Anyway, go ahead. Q&A. Oh, you got a question? You gonna ask? Huh?
There's no questions. There's no questions.
Oh, does Shakina have a question, right?
No, there's no questions for Shabisha.
Oh, there's no question for Shabisha, right? Oh, this she got Shakina messed up. Yeah. Make sure the microphone's on, that's all.
Okay.
There you go.
Hello. Okay.
There you go. Oops.
That one time when I actually had a deep voice, magical. Okay. My question was when you guys were talking about the importance of building systems. It was when you're building your system, how do you not get stuck in your 3 hats, particularly in your technician mode?
How do you not get stuck?
So like,
It's actually a dance between all 3. That's how you build a system. You start in your technician mode by doing it, but as a conscious observer in your manager mode and in your entrepreneur mode, you're documenting, right? You're documenting what as you're doing, just like we just talked about. You're documenting as you're doing. Start where you stand. So then, in the process of doing that, there's no way you can get stuck because you're observing your process from the documentation. Now you can make changes to it as an entrepreneur, and then you go back. It's a cycle. Then you go back as a technician and run it again, and then keep playing that game with yourself in that particular system, and your revisions will continue to change, and your process will get tighter and better.
I have a slightly different answer. I think E-Myth is going to miss most of everybody in this class. We gave everybody this wonderful lesson. And it's not going to miss you because you don't understand it. It's going to miss you because we have to change the way we think to get it. We don't realize how much we've been raised as a technician. And so right now we're trying to rationalize this different a technician space. We almost can't even make the link between I don't got no money and how would I make money and not be a technician. And I think we don't understand that if you don't really get in our mind that building a system means that systematizing is you create a system that doesn't require the highest labor to hold that position, but the system's so well designed, it takes care of itself. So let's think about this real quick. Let's use your business specifically. 24-Hour Fitness has trainers, right? Are trainers as good as yours?
no,
Who makes the most money?
24.
Is the customer less satisfied or more satisfied? How do you control that? How would you do that?
I don't know.
You don't, right? What you'll find is that unless you're a specialist, how many people have you trained in purest honesty turned into be professional athletes and went from not so chiseled to absolutely like a piece of art? How many? I mean, you have to be really. This is not about you. This is about
No,
just
like
business.
3.
How many people have you think you trained in the last 6 years?
Ooh, I think it's like close to 2,000.
So could it easily be said that you wasted a lot of your expertise on 1,997 people?
It could be if the objective was to make everybody the top athlete, but that's not my.
Would you say that maybe the training that they could have got by somebody who was just trained like similar to the way 24-hour fitness trained people, could have met the same needs?
Yes.
So you being on the front line, could it easily be said that you were overtraining and you was putting your most expensive resource on something that had no value to you?
Yeah.
So the challenge is that how do you build a system to get the right type of trainer for the right type of customer based upon a system where you don't need the top trained people? Doesn't mean you can't have somebody that doesn't have training skills. We're not saying bring Josh in there. Gonna have a lot of problems. I promise you, your customers will have strong ears. But point is this. So what I'm arguing is this.
Josh double flipped us off.
But what I'm arguing is this. When you're looking at your business from the passion of what you're doing, you're showing up training. When you look at your business based upon what customers need and want and desire, then you're designing the right type of training and service to get a person from A to B within a couple of weeks and on the front line, training your customers, and then you focus on getting more customers. Then when you get to a certain level of maximum customers, you focus on getting a bigger building. Because you have everything so structured out, and you teach them how to say hi, how to say bye, how to dress, where to touch, how many breaths to take when they're training, or what's their posture. You could even look. What do you think is the chance of somebody who comes to you to be trained knows the difference between, say, your level of training and, let's say, Shabisha's level of training?
Most people don't even know body parts.
So my point is that, are we in business? Are we driving passion? You see the difference? And so that the way you get to systems is you have to, your mind, if you're still holding on to these old models of technician and you try to go to systems, you're still anchored as a technician. Technician is let go all that passion and love for what you're doing and then build a system that serves the people who are coming into your business.
Now, can I ask a secondary question? So, for example, we were using 24-hour fitness as like a parallel comparison. So, in growing, like, of course, I want to get bigger and like take myself out of the picture. But what if you have like two different models? Like, my bigness would probably be a maximum of 200 people in a bigger building, not a huge building, and then maybe a few locations, not a 24-hour fitness.
That's all technician talk. Everything like so learning to think systemic is thinking like you just said my maximum.
Yeah, there is no maximum.
There is no because you just buy more buildings and more
no
people you
maximum.
hire and you cookie cut that and you drop it over here, you drop it over here. Before you know you got 10,000, 4,000, 400. You don't care how many you
gives a-
get.
yeah,
because it's a system that's running it. America doesn't say, you know what, we can't have no more states. It's just shit. We only got so many people can be voted for. It's no. The system is so tight that you could drop it in New York tomorrow, hire for certain qualifications, and those positions are filled within 2 weeks. Those people are trained within 1 month. You open those doors, and it's the same experience they would have in Oakland. But when you start thinking about those limits and what you can't, the word is I can, that's where you just fucked up.
So is
Wait, I think, matter of fact, hey, before you said, you said something, Fern, you said something about the comparison between the ego and enemy and the E-myth, and you said once we, could you just say that, could you grab a mic, pass her a microphone, somebody, pass down the microphone, pass your neighbor a microphone, let her know that you love her, look at your neighbor and say, I love you. Anyway, pass it down real quick. Fern, say this little phrase you said real quick.
What phrase was that?
talk about?
Fern, if you over there high, I swear to God. No, Fern, you said that there's a comparison between the E-myth and ego's the enemy, and that the lesson is once you get yourself out of the way, or something like you said, mentioned.
Shit, I'm trying to remember. The similarities between both books are just ridiculous in one stance. But, damn, what was it? Shit, I don't even know, man. I'm going to have to run that tape back.
Yeah, you just too damn smart for your own britches.
Man.
Like britches, y'all know that's old school britches. Yeah, Jonathan, I know you're gonna go home, look it up, but you won't find it on Wikipedia. Call your grandmother and ask her what is britches. She'll break it down to you. Oh yeah, she's gonna be like, baby, this is what bitches is. But
So Shakina, real quick, I just need you to sit with that thought for a second, because you were about to jump to the next question, and that shit was a life-altering thought.
Well, my question was for clarity for what he had said.
Yeah, that was a life-altering thought.
So, the limitation that I just put on myself of, like what I want the sizes and stuff to be, is that just like basically like the story that I'm telling myself for like what
no, it's deeper. It's mental models. Mental models is what is your model of how the world works? What is your model of how things should be? What's your model? Like when you get in your car, you're using mental models of driving from here to home. You say, well, I'm going to a freeway, and the purpose of a freeway is this, and I'm going to go this fast, and my car should do this. And then when I get off the freeway, these are realities that you accept, right? Well, when you think about business, you have a reality that you accept. That reality that you accept is a technician reality. And so even when you start to think about it by yourself in isolation, how can I shift from being a technician to building systems? You're taking technician approaches and mental models and principles and strategies and thoughts, and then you're trying to squeeze it into this system thing, and it's going to be the hardest. It's going to give you a headache because it doesn't work. So it's almost like you're forcing something that's not designed for that type of performance. I don't know. You're forcing something that's not designed for that type of performance. And so in order for you to be successful in that, what you have to do is work on changing what is this new mental model. And that might require you to talk to people who are building systems, or even learn and go out and seek system thinking. Like I teach system thinking, but one of my concerns in this class, even the stuff I open up teaching tonight, which is system thinking, many people are going to try to force it into a technician's thought. And then they just literally cut it off with the head, rendering it ineffective. But if you think systemically, you're able to take these very complex ideas, because it's not really complex as you think it is. It's foreign. And so you're going to have to literally divorce a lot of, because you have pride and pinpoint you and your accomplishments, that's what's destroying your progress. You got to turn your pride way down, turn all the things you stand on all the way down, and get ready to plant a new foundation and start building something new. But right now, you're trying to take what it's almost like, it's like a scarcity. I don't want to throw away all this stuff I put my time into. These things I believe in, it got me this far. And remember, I always been saying this since being in class, whatever got you this far, it's not going to get you this far. And so by you romanticizing and falling in love with whatever's gotten you this far, going, man, it fed me when I had no food. It was there when nobody wanted to keep me warm. It took care of my baby. And I think I wouldn't even be here because of what I've done, right? That narrative of what you're telling yourself, which is not what it did, it's strengthening it so much that you're trying to hold on to it as you move on to this new way of thinking. And it's really no. That whole way of thinking that you had, you're reaching the end of it soon, which is, like you said, the most I could possibly do now is 200. If you ask anybody, like when somebody's building a system, there ain't no limits.
There's no end or no limits.
There's none. You can't even think about that.
You think about one of the most efficient, think about a system that we all are a part of naturally, and that is us as humans. We've created a system for ourselves and upgraded it continuously. So millions of years ago, as we started to evolve as humans, and then we have babies, we have children. We don't say, well, I'm only going to limit my seed to this point, because you ain't got no control over it. Once you have then over times in history, scientists and doctors have studied our systems to see how can we make it more effective, infant mortality rates and all those things. Doctors figured out, damn, if we wash our hands before we deliver this baby, then babies, the probability of them living goes up a certain amount of percent. Or if we do this or we do that. So that's why it's almost 8 billion people on the earth, because we've gotten good at our system.
Yeah, so system frees you up from the limitations of the future and allows you to dream of the possibilities. Like systems, when we see these high rises in our city that we know that we can almost argue that 99.9% of the time it doesn't belong to somebody black. When we walk into communities where most of us never dreamed of working for ourselves, I mean working for black people and retiring, it's because we got kings and queens running businesses. We don't have people building systems. That's a huge, once y'all understand that, that's why I was getting so mad at the young folks when they start pushing that king and queen on our young people. I'm like, yo, let's cut this shit out because this shit's complex that we're trying to get into. Like, look, systems, Citicorp was built, I think almost in the 1700s or early 1800s. GE's been around since the 1800s. A lot of big companies, there's a lot of, I'm gonna pull up a list of companies that have been around since the 1800s. You know why they've been around? They're systemically structured. If we're talking about getting out of servitude into a space of freedom and building something that will play an active role in changing our experiences, we can no longer build them around us because when we die, it dies with us.
Yo, you think about China. Years back, we wanted to move our manufacturing over to China and Japan. So we brought the philosophy of manufacturing, TPM, systems, pretty much the forefather of systems was TPM and Kaizen and all those things to teach people how to make systems the most efficient and effective as you can in manufacturing so you can repeat your product process and have the same product come out the same way every time. We brought that over to China 30, 40 years ago. 40, 50, 60 years ago. China got so raw at it because we were using them for cheap labor, but we taught them the game. I went to Shenzhen a couple years ago. They have a 25-year-old city. Shenzhen is about 25, 30 years old. It's about 100 New Yorks. The size of it is 100 New Yorks. They got the buildings, they have high rises. The top 1, 2, 3 tallest buildings in the world is over there in Shenzhen. And you look out and it's about 100 New Yorks. And they built it in 25 years.
That's crazy.
Because they mastered systems. That's why Apple can go over there and show them how to make their iPhone and break it up into pieces so they don't figure it out, and they figure that shit out because they mastered systems.
So systemic thinking is almost something that's almost foreign to our culture because we've always been a working class of people. Go ahead.
So I have a request and then Donald has a question.
Okay.
So, Donald, I'm going before you with my request. If the comment that you just made,
I'm about to slap the
that
shit
we
out
have,
of somebody.
So there's two comments that you just made. One, the one you just made was just around the fact that we have a working class mentality, right? And then the second thing was around, the second concept was around, it's about moving mental models. I thought that the way that Shakina we used her business as an example was really helpful.
Extremely helpful.
And what I was thinking is that there are a number of us who come from outside of a corporate structure, which is a mental model. And I know that I can speak for myself and say, I understand some of the theory in the E-Myth book, but there's a gap in the application. And so if at some point, not tonight, but if at some point we can do more of that and really kind of go in from like a corporate perspective and kind of unpack that and start to talk about what that might look like to start to see where the gap is in the middle models, because you and I were having a conversation, you were like, you can be at the top of that middle model, but you have to have a different experience for you to actually move. So I've been thinking about that, and for me, it would be very helpful for me to be able to kind of use, I guess, myself as an example so that I could see better, so that I can see what I can't really see. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean,
That's
here's the
my
funny
request.
part. The book does it, it just doesn't describe it well. So when we get to those points in the book,
Yeah.
we're going to dive deeper so we can get there.
Okay.
But the book actually shows us how to create systems. The question she asked is coming up maybe by the end of this month.
Sure.
We're going to be in that space where we're building systems.
Okay.
But you're going to realize it's such a different mentality that because the word entrepreneur is loosely used, self-employment and entrepreneur principles are starting to mix a lot.
Yeah.
And so when you first start, you're just grabbing all the things that feel true. Well, remember I told you guys I started studying scaling.
Right.
Scaling is a whole different group of rules, and it's very philosophical. And you realize, and the reason I'm now starting to give some of these starting to apply some of the scaling ideas to the class, because I realize how much you can get stuck in that early stage and never get out of it, because it's almost being over-celebrated, overvalued, overpraised. You know, it's the new status thing, right? Because Shakina could gain status for where she is right now, but deep in her spirit, she knows, I'm tired of this shit. Or she might not be tired yet, but she's going to be tired of this shit, right? And so in order for her to transfer from that, she has to release the status and embrace the change.
What it made me think about was how have I ever assessed myself? Well, you do a self-assessment when you're it's part of your review, but all of the things that you're assessed on is your ability to think inside that system.
Yeah, the corporate is a different language, absolutely different language. And matter of fact, corporate is, I'm gonna get into like the illusion of corporate. I'm gonna really dive into how bad that illusion is. And when I get to the illusion of corporate, you're gonna realize, like, okay, how many of you guys ever worked for a nonprofit? Anybody ever worked for a nonprofit before? What's the easiest role? It's the easiest company to work for to become a director. If you want to be a director tomorrow, go work for a nonprofit. They'll make you a director as soon as you walk through the door, right? Because they give you this title all the time to make you feel better about who you are. If the goal of a system is to get everyday people, not the best, but everyday people to fill a role, and the system still runs at its maximum level, well, part of motivating those individuals is you give them a false sense of value. This is hardcore. This is what we got to do. So if I hire you, I say you're the director. If I say you're the lead of this, the vice president of this, president of that, doesn't mean that represents who you are as a person. It doesn't even represent your skill level. It represents the role I need you to play for me. So many black folks, this is what's going to fuck us up. So in the era of George Floyd, many of us are going to get this broad praise based upon these titles we're going to receive because of white guilt. It is what it is, but that's what it is. Don't like the social justice stuff, but that's just what it is. And when that happens, we're going to come back to our community and call ourselves the director of finance for PG&E, not realizing they gave you a title that where you, at the end of the day, you plug into a system that's designed for a low level of labor. And so then you get pissed off one day, I'm gonna start my own business, and realize you're not as good as you really thought you were because the title you were given doesn't match the real expertise that's required in the real world.
Oh shit! You just made a mess.
Man, take another pill. Those of you at home depressed, take another pill. Anyway,
Okay.
Hey,
this the last
Bounty is
question.
a quicker picker upper. You just made a mess.
this guy did say Bounty is
So, Donald's question, he did say, how do you get beyond the financial stress of expansion?
How do you get
No,
past the
it's-
financial stress of expansion? Before I answer that question, and pause the class when he answers this question, why are you stressed? Why are you stressed?
Donald, you got to answer that in the comments.
So we'll come back. Let's pause. We're going to go into Eagle's enemy. But when he answers that question, keep your eyes on. And when he answers that question, I'm going to pause the class just for Donald, because today is Donald's day. Cinco de Mayo is Donald's day. So from now on, Donald, if you don't celebrate Cinco de Mayo, happy Donald Day. Anyway, we're going to move on to the next one. The Eagle's the enemy. Let me jump over here real quick. Eagle is the enemy. Let's get to the first one. I'm going to give our soul sister number one. You know what I'm saying? Open the door. She do it herself. Give her opportunity to grab her microphone and break it down for us. Go ahead.
Never give reasons for what you think or do until you must.
Test. Okay, let's make sure you okay?
Is it on?
There you go.
Never give reasons for what you think or do until you must.
This is another. So I'm gonna teach you guys optionality because optionality is a cold game. The first time I was exposed to optionality was I used to work in startups and .coms, and I was in charge of building infrastructure. I didn't build the infrastructure. I was in charge of creating an infrastructure with technicians. So I was a manager of technicians building infrastructure. And then as I became an entrepreneur, I realized I needed to expand on the ideas of optionality. Remember I said if you build a business, I'll show you how E-Myth, and this is talking the same stuff, it's coming from a different angle. Remember I said if you fall in love with your products or service, that's already reducing optionality. When you start announcing what you are doing and how you're going to do it, that narrative is the opposite of optionality. The reason you want to give yourself freedom to tinker, stumble, make mistakes, try it again. Try it again. My daughter's 2 years, when she was 2.5, she's now almost 2 years and 8 months. But when she was 2 years and 6 months, she wanted to learn how to blow up. She wanted to figure out how to blow up a balloon. Like her little bitty lungs ain't got that much air. And she would just blow it and just, and you know, every once in a while I walk by and she's still with that little balloon. I said, oh, this girl, she ain't gonna never blow up that damn balloon. Her lungs ain't made for that. One day I walk in the house, the balloon is this big. I said, wait a minute, hold. Dude, pass me that balloon. Maybe it's a flawed balloon. And I had to give it some pressure, and the balloon blew up. And I said, did somebody blow this up for her? Nah, she's been working on it all this time. I said, what's this story got to do with this point? Let's go back. She was tinkering and playing without somebody going, no, you didn't do it. Well, you said, I think you should just go and change. You know what? She's just in her private space, tinkering and tinkering. We didn't get a chance to see. By the time I witnessed what she had done, what she had achieved, I was witnessing success, our movement. Many of you guys don't even get to the space of movement because you're talking too much. You're too busy trying to respond to your promises because you're trying to be this, shit, or that. I think we have a theme for the name of this class: this or that. But that's why when you're out here performing, stop announcing from the time you have an idea.
Oh my God.
I got this idea, Nana. I'm working on this business. I'm telling you it's gonna be tight. So what I'm about to do is, and then I'm gonna work on this, and then you don't realize you exhausted me. So by the time you really need me, please, I'm avoiding you now. I'm hiding in corners when you come in the room. I'm also putting on my headphones. No, I heard that. No, this is important, man. I see you real quick. And so you leave. Man, I'm glad that motherfucker gone.
There's also some universal stuff too, you know, and there's also some mind and conscious stuff too that makes this so important. If you always talking about the shit that you're gonna do, then you might actually accidentally trick your brain into thinking that it's already done. So stop that shit.
Go ahead. We got Donald's back. Dono, let's bring it back, baby. Let's do it. This is one shot for the. Just do it from there. We can just keep it riding. Come on. Shout out to my man Donald.
He said he's not. He has a couple of reasons. One, not sure if the system he built is sustainable. Two, people he employs, he's responsible for, and if he didn't get it right, then he loses. Then three, getting it wrong and it impacts his livelihood.
Hey, welcome to entrepreneurship, baby.
Yeah. Okay, so read the first one. I'm gonna take one at a time. Read the first one, so I can take each one of those.
One, not sure if the system he built is sustainable.
Because the system is never going to be, the system you build anytime will never be, it has to always be adjusted. You're always adjusting.
Yeah.
There's no such thing as a perfect system. You're always learning. Every great company you've ever will hear about have a lot of failures on their books. And so what I'm hearing in this conversation is too much perfectionism. See, business is not about perfectionism. We're not getting A's for this. We're making progress, but we're not getting A's. If we're getting A's, and the advice I gave Shakina was absolutely wrong. Shakina, hire the best people to do the best job to compete with the best competition. No, you're designing a system that fits people's needs, right? So a lot of times in that process of getting something right or wrong, I don't have a problem with you worrying, but turn it down a little bit and then figure out what, that's why I said, why are you worried? Because even if you get to a certain size, first of all, the best way to destroy a bad idea is grow it really fast. Right? And so the reality is that, but if you get to a point at your certain size, that size only was achieved because you changed. So you don't own perfection. You will never even know when you achieve a so-called perfection. You get to talk about perfection in hindsight, not in foresight. In foresight, you were trying shit, and then some of it worked and some of it didn't. And you kept testing and adjusting, and then when you got it just right, a cultural trend changed, and you had to redesign it again. Then those people retired, and you had to redesign it again. But their core vision of what's pulling you forward is the margins that these changes are happening within. So it's not about you. When you're building a system, the system is designed to always be tinkered with and adjusted. It's almost like if you ever watch Star Trek. They don't say, okay, set it at 75, set it at 46, set it at 54. Everybody, let's go downstairs and party. We're going to get there. There's somebody manning the station to constantly make adjustments as the ship is sailing through space. That's how business is working. You're constantly adjusting the system, but within that adjustment, you have a mission and where you're going.
Also, too, I want to start back with the word stress. The question is there anything wrong with stress? No, stress is part of it. And there's a thing called good stress. This thing called good stress. And when it's good stress, that's the kind you want, because good stress makes you stronger. Good stress increases your focus and allows you to say, all right, this process that I'm building, that I'm drawing out, it's going to be my best work. Stress allows you to do that. Now, if it gets beyond good stress and it starts to be stress that's destructive on you psychologically, emotionally, physically, mentally, that's when things can be damaging. But a little bit of stress, tripping on it a little bit, little worry, all of that's good. That's being an entrepreneur. This game is not about pressing a button and going to sleep knowing everything that you just wrote is going to come out perfectly tomorrow. No, that's not that. The game of life wouldn't be the game of life if that was true. So all the three things that you mentioned, that shit, that could happen. But you keep tweaking those systems and you let that stress, little bit of stress, get you hyper focused to give it your best work. And then you'll get there. And then if the shit don't work, then you get better. You get better. You build. You inject something different.
Persistence.
And just keep doing it.
What was the second part?
Second part was the people you employ, you're responsible for, and if you didn't get it right, then you lose.
No, you don't lose. That's what life is. Don't play zeroism. That's that this or that. He doesn't know how to hold this and that in his mind. So there are going to be times you're going to lose people. You're going to fire people. It's going to be times you're going to hire people, right? You're not in the game. No one promised us anything. We're in a game of life. Like imagine if you was a military person, you don't want to lose nobody. Everybody dead tomorrow. So that's part of the game. And number two is this. But now going back to what Court said, this is two opposite ideas that are both true. But what Court said is that's why we should take what we do very serious as well. That's why there's no place for our ego to think that it's all about what we're going to do in our success. The worst thing we can ever do in these high pressure positions is become individual superheroes or go on our islands. The need for teams and the right people around you to make better decisions, investing in a decision-making process is critical. And if you don't invest in improving decision-making in your company by getting the right kind of people around you that can raise the quality of decision-making, and you put all the pressure on yourself, well, that's also a problem because you're doing a superhero thing. So what can you do? Now, let's say in the situation you're in, you don't have the ability, because sometimes making a better decision is going to the employees and having a conversation, right? It's like there's multiple ways to structure systems to improve decision making. So how do you create a system to improve decision making? Third thing is that also go to the outside sources. Like you listening to me right now is not a magic key or instructions of what you need to do tomorrow, do A, B, C, D, F, G. What I'm doing right now, I may be less intelligent than you, Donald, by 20 folds. You might be way more intelligent than me. But the value of this conversation is not to go superior intelligence to inferior intelligence. It's to say you're tunneling right now. And tunneling means you have this rich emotion that's causing you to narrow your focus. And what you need sometimes as an entrepreneur or somebody who's in position of leadership is other people around you that don't share the same emotional value that can tap you on your shoulder and go, hey, what about this over here? Hey, you think about that, right? These are tools that you need. So there is no such thing as the one person that runs through brick walls and saves the person and that's in danger. It's about teams, smart teams, and building smart systems that improve decision making.
Fuck, man, this is good. Like, this shit is so much game. I would suggest rewinding this class and listening to it again because there's so much fucking game. Go back to the king and queen shit. If you're king and queen mentality, then it's definitely difficult for you to upgrade your systems in a rapid pace because it all will continue to rely on your intelligence because you've built you as a king and queen mentality. Everyone's afraid to disagree with you, suggest things to you, or just interrupt what you're doing. So now it's all on you.
Ooh, that's a nice angle.
If you got a suggestion box in your mentality in your company to where from the top to the bottom, I welcome suggestions on how to improve processes, pull my coattail, pop my collar, whatever, then that will allow you to rapidly expand because this person that may not even be tied directly to this side of your business may be an observer and be like, hey, have you ever thought about this? You know, think about Frito-Lay, who was on the verge of not doing well. You know who saved their company? The fucking janitor saved their company, janitor. He's a Mexican janitor and was like, yo, this would be good if you had flaming hot on everything because we put lemon and sriracha on everything. And it made it all the way up to the president's desk and he tried it and it blew the fuck up. And then they put flaming hot on everything and that rose their sales up. Now that guy's like the VP of the company now. He was a janitor. True fucking story. Now, if they didn't have a process like that allowed people to flow up and down through suggestions, then they'd still be stuck.
Because as a company grows, going back, if Shekinah grows a company to what we suggested, she can't see everything no more. Remember I said, as your business grows, you have to be prepared to give up control. See, when you're a technician, you like to control the whole process. As a business expands, you no longer have control over day-to-day activities. You don't even know half the people named that work, if not 99.9% of people named who work for your company. And so in the process of allowing something to systemically grow, you have to release control. And in that releasing control, you have to also provide a system where information is recycling itself up and down. But when you're trying to be in control, you're trying to bring everything back to the story of you did it. See, you created systems that did it. You don't that takes pressure off your chest because you have great people around you. Quite often, the solutions will amaze you because there's something that you couldn't help by yourself. And the last part of that, real quick, maybe I already answered it.
The last part of that was getting it wrong and it impacts my livelihood.
Yeah, so that's once again king, queen, and livelihood is like livelihood is suggests if I fire you tomorrow, no, you can't go do it again. If I fire Donald tomorrow, you can't do it again, or you can't go somewhere else. Like you're tunneling.
You're a savage.
You're just straight tunneling. That's not true. You're like you said. And his thing. That's only true. This is when it gets scary. It's only true if you've been faking it to make it. Then that's scary. So let's say you got really high, faking it to make it, don't have not enough skills to save your goddamn life. You ain't been reading no books. You've been out there stunting, driving fancy cars, telling your partners how you making all this cash at your job, and you're not doing any practice. You just take it for granted that this money is supposed to be coming to you, and then somebody threatens you. You scared as shit right now because you know that ain't nobody trying to recruit you like that. Yeah, you also that basketball player like say Eric Snow, and if like one team let him go, he knows ain't nobody bidding for him. It's just there's certain people in this world that just you know you ain't really earned your keeps.
Austin Rivers.
Ooh. Next one, please. Somebody got shot.
Talk depletes us. Talking and doing fight for the same resources. Research shows that while goal visualization is important, after a certain point, our mind begins to confuse it with actual progress. The same goes for verbalization. Even talking aloud to ourselves while we work through difficult problems has been shown to significantly decrease insight and breakthroughs. After spending so much time thinking, explaining, and talking about a task, we start to feel that we've gotten closer to achieving
shit, I
it.
jumped the
Or
gun.
worse, when things get tough, we feel we can toss the whole project aside because we've given it our best try, although, of course, we haven't.
You want to start that first? You want to get this one first? I'll take everyone first, but I got some things I want to say to you first.
Man. So understand this. Sometimes we might think it's a good idea to hop on Instagram and say, okay, I want to show you guys the process. You know, I'm starting this, so I'm starting my weight loss journey. So I want you guys to follow me through it. I'm on day 1, or I'm starting this entrepreneurship journey. I want you guys to follow. And you always talking. It seems like it's a good idea. I want people to follow my journey to see, to see me through. The first thing is, nobody really gives a fuck about the journey. The only person that it damages is you because you're talking about it too much. When you release those words constantly about a goal or something that you want to achieve, and you're constantly talking about it, your brain gets confused. Your brain doesn't know if you did it or not because you're constantly repeating the steps. For us to, if you study people who really make shit happen, they don't speak on it unless they have to. Meaning, you're a necessary part of the path of making this happen, so I gotta speak to you about it. Hey, come over here. Can I talk to you? This is what I'm planning. I think you're necessary. Or would you be interested? That's it. You don't see hella shit. The second thing is, you wait until you get the results. It's a result-based game. There's no reward for even, if you're in entrepreneurship, there's no reward for even doing it besides learning. The reward is in the results. So let's all shut the fuck up. Let's do it. And I guarantee you, it's going to impact your progress.
Let me add something I don't think I've ever talked about before. Two different angles, or 3, but 2 really I want to focus on. One is this. Let me get this fast out of my head so I won't forget it. You know, a lot of times when I teach this class, I don't talk about the class before I get here, because if I talk about it too much, my brain will treat it as if I taught it, and I'll skip past certain things, assuming that you've heard it already. So a lot of times, in order for me to provide the explanation it deserves, I won't start sharing my lesson with anybody. Like Shakira doesn't know my lesson if I get here. And there's a reason for that, so I can be fresh and I can present it as fresh as it deserves to be. Because by it being fresh, I can pay attention to things that may not translate. But if I said it 1,000 times, I'm assuming you get certain points, and then when I finish, you're like, I don't know what the fuck Nana just said. That's the fast one. Some of you are in jobs where you deal with people a lot. You negotiate a lot, you talk to people, you build relationships, you're going out shaking hands. The danger of that role is you guys start thinking that's the job. Some people, I'm running this business because I knew this person. I talked to, I was over here. I was in this meeting. I was in this discussion. I was having with this person. And like that's necessary, but you never take time to stop and say, okay, but what is my skill level? What the fuck am I really adding to these conversations? What is my value proposition? What am I putting on the table that is so valuable to the point that if somebody else was to sit at this table, the customer would see the value of why I'm here, right? And many of you guys never take that time. You guys get so much into talking about what you can do for this future client, and what we did over here, what we did over there. But when you actually look at what you're actually producing, it's nowhere near as pretty as what the words that come out your mouth. And some of you guys get caught up in this. I network with this person knew this person because of me, and I got this person to know this person because of me, and then hopefully this person cuts me a little deal because I hooked them up, and then I hooked this other person up, I hooked this other person up. You're not doing shit. You're really noise in this big old life. You're not changing any of the scenarios. The other one I've seen happen, this is the same thing. I seen my son, Diallo, talk about how dope he was on something he hasn't done. So much that when he did it, he sucked. And he didn't suck because he didn't have the mental skills or the technical skills to do it. It's because he went into it believing the words that came out of his mouth. You have to get to the point you stop talking so much so you can get yourself to have a personal relationship with yourself. And in that personal relationship with self, you can start to see the areas that you're missing so you can add on to those areas and then show up accordingly. But the reason the way you show up is inconsistent, the inner versus the outer. It's a separation. The outer is what's coming out of your mouth. The inner is who you really are. And there's no alignment. And so the reason you have to stop talking so goddamn much is because you got to work on getting that in alignment. And it's so out of alignment that you think what you said and what you left that room with is what the customer experienced when you don't realize the inner, at the end of the day, ruled.
Yo, and just let me add two little spice on it, is that scientifically, the process of thinking is, even if you're thinking in commands, scientifically, the process of thinking is you're asking yourself questions. What does this mean? What should I do? Stimulus through the eyes or stimulus through the doing. Your brain is always constantly asking those two questions. What does this mean and what should I do? And then it comes up with the answer and you do it. And you adjust and make changes. When you're talking, you're making fucking statements. So you just closed off the opportunity real time to improve, grow, expand, of whatever it is. And so you're making statements. When you're thinking and you're doing, it's inner. You're engaging with the inside of yourself, and that's how you bring the best out of yourself. So that's quiet. If you just they call that head down, quiet, getting it in with yourself. You're thinking, you're processing, you're writing, you're doing, and that's how you really can hit the gas on what you're doing.
And just go to the next slide, but let me just say this one thing that Howard Thurman, I just want to hit one more. Howard Thurman said, man, I really enjoyed Howard Thurman. I just sat there and just enjoyed him and listened to some of his sermons. And Howard said, it's bouncing off what you just said. That's why I want to say this. Otherwise I wouldn't have a motivation. He said, quite often, as human beings, we will say, court made me do this. White people made me do this. The system made me do this. My kids made me do this. He said, but yet it's a level of dishonesty in that comment. Because our brain decides, this is Howard Thurman, who died in 1981. Going back to what he said, the brain is making a decision based upon past events. It looks at past events and says, when this happened, usually you should do this. So when something happened in front of you, you reached on past events and implemented it on a current situation that had nothing to do with your past. If you are not clear about the separation between the present and the past, the reason you keep your past alive and you recreate your past over and over and over again, because when you're faced with making a decision, you're not giving yourself a chance to examine the best choice. You're just reacting to your past experiences.
Think about the person that you run into every once in a while. Maybe you went to high school with that person, or maybe you just know them, family, friend, relative. The big things person. Think about that big things person, the one that comes to you and tells you that they doing big things and they run down to you all those things. Think about the outfit that they got on. What outfit they wearing? Some outdated shit. Were they doing too much, right? Because they out of touch. Because they talk so fucking much and they run it down to you. And the thing is about that big things person, doesn't that speech sound so compelling? It sounds hella dope and good. If you were to close your eyes and listened, because they said it so many times, repeated it and practiced it, it's so influential. Like shit. Almost like, where do I put my money? I want to invest in these big things. Because man, and then I'm linked up with this person, and so I got this going, and I got this graphic design company going, and I got a clothing line, I got another clothing line that I'm linked to my restaurant that I'm starting, and man, it's like I got these vegan mac and cheese that's crazy, like everybody loves it, like you know that person, but the emptiness of who they. Like, if you really, really know him and you know how empty that shit is, like the brother we met at 2-4, he was hella good at spewing off his shit. And he would cut him off and be like, I read the book. Oh, I know. You talking about these people. Or, yeah, I read that. And you like, fuck, he read the book. Shit. But he was so caught up in just in this part of his body, not from the neck down, that he can't even see that he ain't doing shit. I saw him like 6 months ago. Tell Nana I said, what's up? No, I'm not going to tell him you said what's up. Why? And DeAndre, if you're watching, I'm using you. I'm sorry, bro. But we had a talk Sunday. And he was like, hey, I have an idea. I want to bring it to you. You know what? I'm going to hold that. I'm going to wait for this one.
Yeah. You really took away what I was going to say next, because I was like, what you said, I was like, thank God you tell me. Okay, yeah, let's go next. Next one, it'll come back to me. Go ahead. The next one? Oh, the next one is this one here.
Success.
By the way, real quick, before we go next one, where does Danielle find these amazing images? Is it like, if you at home right now and question if you love your black skin, because deep down in your subconscious you may have fell into that space where you believe white people are superior, that's possible. If that's how you feel, you happen to be a dark skin, a brown skin, or even a light skin. Fuck it, by the way, we got some dope ass Latina sisters riding with us this year. Shout out to all the Latina sisters with us.
Shout out to him.
Hey, man.
Man, it's not like that.
Did he? Shout out to.
No, I didn't do it like
ladies,
that.
I'm just telling y'all.
I did not do it like that.
Yeah, okay. We got his rolls on his chest. Yeah, shout out to him.
Cold piece
Look
of
like
work.
LL.
Cold piece of work.
So anyway, but if Danielle doesn't make you appreciate your blackness from young to old, from short to tall, rich to poor, mixed or not, straight or gay, if you don't love yourself after some of these slides that Danielle places on the screen, man, once again, call the person who gets stressed out when I say certain things, ask me, can you borrow some of those pills? Because this is some beautiful shit up in here. So anyway, let's keep rolling on this one. Keep going.
Success requires a full 100% of our effort, and talk filters part of that effort away before we can use it.
Go ahead, bro.
So DeAndre hit me up. He said, I got this idea, and I have this other idea, and I want to start this other business in connection with the other idea. What do you think? And it's not just you. It's a lot of us, especially the intelligent ones. We dramatically underestimate what it takes to build a business. One business.
Dramatically.
We dramatically we think we could start 2-3 businesses at the same time sometimes.
Dramatically.
And that is such the biggest myth. Success requires a full 100% of our effort in one business. So the thought process, what you thinking about, the reason why it consumes 100% is because of the other thing we talk of the myth is your day has to be, how can I improve my processes in this situation? Man, that took a little too long. How can I improve that? Do I need to tweak? You're always thinking about your systems and you're tweaking them and so you can build something. If the average black entrepreneur, it brings home, what, 7,000 or 17,000 a year on average, then what the fuck are we trying to build multiple businesses for? Let's put if we put all of our energy into the success of this one. Now, of course, sometimes before we get our businesses off the ground, we got to work a job or we got to do certain things to make sure that we eat or put food on the table. And hopefully it's mindless enough that you can give 20% of your energy on it so that you can put the other 80 on the success of this one business.
Let me say this too. This talk thing, real quick, just came back to me. You know how you talk your way out of a lot of business meeting and working with successful people? We could tell how you're faking it or where you really stand because you talk too much. See, when I'm around entrepreneurs, communication is intentional because everybody's kind of thinking. So like if I'm around him and he's happy to be around people, watch Court or me one time when we're not paying attention. Now, if we're joking and playing, that's one thing. But I'm talking about if you meet somebody new, we're kind of intentional because our curiosity is driving it, our observations driving it, a thought that we had before the person arrived is driving it. But when you guys have these run-on, you know what you sound like? Like a fan in front of a superstar. And we know you're not a superstar. Like literally, you can start destroying your networking by talking too much. By talking wisely, you're increasing your network. If no one lives on an island in business, and it requires for you to build a smart network or a smart feedback loop to improve your business strategy, then talking too much often will compromise your network. Next one. Oh, by the way, if we're running all these businesses and we're not doing 100%, you're also destroying your personal brand because now you're known as Mr. and Mrs. Half-Ass. Go ahead.
The more difficult the task, the more uncertain the outcome, the more costly talk will be, and the further we run from actual accountability.
I feel like it doesn't feel like we just read E-Myth and like this is almost written perfectly because this is that same thing about falling in love with your business. You have this complex task, but you're by your talk, you're literally like this relationship between you're destroying your brand. I'm about to do this, and next time, I'm about to do this. It's really the same idea because of what you discovered, but what's not transparent to me is your discovery process. Is that to me, it just appears as if you're all over the place. Keep going. This is crazy.
It sapped us of the energy desperately needed to conquer what Stephen Pressfield calls the resistance, the hurdle that stands between us and the creative expression.
Keep going. Next one.
A lot of us succumb to this temptation, particularly when we feel overwhelmed or stressed or have a lot of work to do. In our building phase, resistance will be a constant source of discomfort. Talking, listening to ourselves talk, performing for an audience is almost like therapy. I just spent 4 hours talking about this. Doesn't that count for something? The answer is no.
Go ahead. No, you go ahead. This side. No, go ahead.
I mean, this might hurt a little bit of people's feelings, but a lot of times if you're cycling back through the same hurdles that you are up against in entrepreneurship and you're approaching us and asking the questions about a certain topic, and I know we talked about this like 4 or 5 times already before and came up with some solutions to try, and you never tried them, you just want to come back and talk about it again. That's what this is. A lot of that time is just, it's therapy for you to hear yourself talk about the problem, but not do shit about it. And so that's how sometimes 1, 2, 3 years can go by in this class, and there's so much game that's given and solutions offered, but none of them have been tried. But you just like talking about it again. Okay, so let me tell you about this problem again and go through it again. But it just feels good to get off my chest. Now, that actually is the solution, because I just got it off my chest again. And we could be rattling off the solution, and you're not even listening because you're like, all right, that felt good. Now I'm moving on. Like, hold up. Do you want to get this? Do you want to fix this shit, or do you not? Or the stress, the resistance, the discomfort of actually trying is too hard, and I just wanted to relieve, like a relief valve. Let's stop doing, like, let's progress. What juices me, and I'm sure what juices him, is to hear the fucking progress, to hear the wins, to hear, man, I just negotiated this shit from some game I learned, and God, that shit worked, and now I got this deal, or we just did, man, that, otherwise it feels like we wasting our time. But this is so poignant in terms of talking. Talk, if you're going to talk with the intention of finding a solution in these particular situations as an entrepreneur. If not,
Like literally, man, I'm gonna dance with that, because that's perfect. That's so perfect. I can't begin to tell you how often the way people talk to me, I wonder. And now I'm trying to start my own business, and at that point, you're grandstanding with me. Yeah, because I had done that, I read this, I know this, and you're not doing it. You're grandstanding. You can't wait to get in the meeting so you can grandstand. You know, the policy and the procedure and the chronic drug effect and the blah, 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 blah. And the fallacies and the distortions of what you're expressing, and there's a strategy of the way you're thinking, and you gotta realize that this and that and the tyranny of the or, it's just, and when you go look at your life, it's like you talk a Mercedes talk, but you go in a parking lot and get in a Datsun B210. That's your life, right? I've seen it with parents and kids, son, daughter. You need to have principles that are. I'm looking at them going, why are you talking to your kid like that in front of me?
oh yeah, that shit, I can't stand that shit.
It's almost like you talking about it makes you feel like you are it, because you could tell your friends, your kids, the community, you can't wait to get in somebody's face and tell them this new knowledge that you now own. You get so bold, you want to teach it now. Now, when are you going to have me teach class? I'm prepared to share some of the same ideas. And I look at your life and go, yeah, but you don't live it though. Okay, don't drink alcohol with the pills. All I'm saying is keeping it really simple. When you're trying to do it, the kind of conversation is going to be like, okay, I tried this, but it didn't necessarily work. Hey, what did you do different there? It's a different dialogue. When you ain't doing it, this is how we know you ain't fucking doing it. It's when you just come back and repeat the shit I just said, but just with different words. And then you turn in a party that we all at, and you go across the room, and I can hear you talking loud, and you saying everything I said in the last 6 classes. You just break it down to your own interpretation. But when I look at the way you move in that room, I can tell if it's hitting you the right way. Mm-hmm. This shit's not, look, I'm not here to help you increase your social status. I'm not here to help you have sex. I am strictly here so you can take care of them damn kids and we have a better fucking life. Now, don't have y'all leave. Huh?
That's
That's down the hall,
That's
yeah.
down the
Down the
hall.
hall class, they teach how to have better sex. Here, look, Shabisha, stay. We almost lost Shabisha, man, right? Court, get back in here. My whole staff almost left. My point is, I love everybody in this damn room. I swear to God I do. I love everybody in this room. But the goal here is so y'all can take care of these damn kids, fix these neighborhoods that we live in, and provide a better environment for the kids we will never meet. Right? Like, we can't, in neglecting our social, part of the residue of neglecting our social, okay, we don't neglect our responsibilities because that's who we are by nature. Don't let anybody ever convince you of such. Slavery stole that from us. It stole that from us. It taught us just to work, not to own and control and put our and define ourselves by our contributions. So now that we are in a position, now that we are so-called free, a free man way of thinking is the future is our responsibility. It's that simple. And the language we're introducing you to, these ideas, we're trying to teach you how to finally be a man or woman. I told Silence the other day at the gym, I said, Silence, if I sat at a table with the mythical white man, the mythical Asian, say Chinese, Japanese, Vietnamese, and all the other ones I didn't mention, Filipino, and I sat at the table with different Latin men, Mexican, South American, Brazilian. I sat at the table with some of my brothers from certain parts of Africa, some of them. And they started to tell me how they were managing infrastructure over 1 million plus people. In some cases, almost 1 billion. My Indian brothers and sisters too. They started to tell me how they were focusing on bringing cleaner water to the people, how they were building better roads, how they were focusing on improving the health care. They was designing a new system for housing, for inspections, to create consistency. They were designing new roads so vehicles could move faster so they could improve commerce. And they turned to me and said, Nana, what are you designing? I said, well, Black Lives Matter. And I want to be able to get jobs. And I want to go to better schools, and I want white people to treat me nicer. They would ask me to get up from the table. You're not the same conversation. You need to go down the hall where you're talking about sex.
Yeah.
And the reality is that, Shabisha, stay. And so the reality is that all those men down there, my argument is as a black man and as a black woman, it's raising our awareness in the conversation so our contribution to the dialogue is different. This class is not meant for us to teach you individual greed. We're trying to teach you social responsible wealth building. Social responsible wealth building. Look, at the end of the day, you're going to die. You don't get to take this money with you. You don't get extra 10 years because you're now worth 20 million, 100 million, a billion. Fuck it, 400 billion. You don't get no extra years. And so if you don't have some bigger idea of why you're here and the whole purpose of this, happiness is not going to come from the money. There's nothing you can buy that's going to create long-term happiness. Long-term happiness and quality of life is the people around you. Stop. It's the people around you. And how do you change the people around you? It's not about changing the people. They're not like you're not drafting new friends. It's changing yourself. The quality of your friends reflect who you are. If you want better friends, change who you are. Simple. It ain't even complex. It's easier to believe that the problem is others. Now I realize that the problems we have with others is really us projecting ourselves out onto the people that we bring around ourselves. Our organ player. Let's get a couple more, then we'll call it a day. We're almost there. We're almost done. Oh, then go next one. Here you go. There you go. Come on.
Doing great work is a struggle. It's draining, it's demoralizing, it's frightening. Not always, but it can feel that way when we're deep in the middle of it. We talk to fill the void and the uncertainty.
Oh, stop for a second. He said we talk to fill the void and uncertainty. You know how bad human beings are with uncertainty? Whew, keep going. That's that in itself. If you listen to that phrase that was read to you, if you don't understand the power of void and uncertainties on the humans as an animal, you won't get how powerful that really is. That how we're using talk to fill the void of uncertainty. I mean, fill the void and the uncertainty. Like that's the number one reason people get jobs. Okay, another deep moment. Pull out your pencil and paper. I wanted to ask this question, but I done fucked the question up already. What's the most safe? Okay, let's make it simple. What's the most safest place to what's the most safest, a job or being an entrepreneur? Let's make it real simple. Which one is it? Come on, quickly. What's the safest? Job. Wrong.
Entrepreneurship.
Way safer.
All day.
Let me break it down for you because it's going to fuck up your brain. This is why many of you are sitting at work talking about, I want to start my own business. Because when you work at a job, you place all your money on one bet. And here's the thing, you don't control the outcome of the bet. And if they decide tomorrow to let you go at 55, you lost that bet big.
Bye.
Number two, they can decide to downsize, go away, make a mistake. You don't control that bet. An entrepreneur, things can go wrong and they can do something else, and then do something else, and do something else. They always have A, B, and C because they practice optionality. You don't practice optionality if you have a job. So quite often we think, now what are you really running from? You're running from uncertainty. Because when you have a job, it gives you a sense, not actual, sense of certainty. Knowing deep down in your mind, if they let you go tomorrow, you can't even process it. But if an entrepreneur loses a contract, he may be angry for that night, but tomorrow he's back to work. Because he always or she always has options. And so the illusion that most people don't want to deal with, there's a word, God damn it. We don't want to deal with the this and the that and the variations of life. We don't want to deal with volatility. We don't want to deal with uncertainty. We don't want to deal with possible voids. We want everything to be perceived. We want our perception to come true. Really, although perception is not reality, we want it to come true. We want to perceive that tomorrow will be like the last day and the last day and the last day, where entrepreneurs already let that go. They let it go. They realize tomorrow is unpredictable, and I'm only building a set of skills that allows me to navigate the uncertainty of tomorrow. So, entrepreneur and jobs, entrepreneur is a much more safer place to be than a job. Matter of fact, I'll give you another one. It is safer to be a cab driver or a stripper, a cab driver or a prostitute than to be a banker. Because a banker works at a single bank. If that bank falls, he falls. A stripper will instantly get a sense of, it ain't working here, I'm going on this side of town. It ain't working here, I'm going to this side of town. A taxi driver will get an instant feedback. I went to pick somebody up over here. There's not enough people going over here. I'm going to go over here and find out where the people are. And they can always adjust to the changes of society. A bank if you work at that bank, you won't even sense the changes. You will only feel the impact of the changes. So it's safer to be a taxi driver and a fucking stripper. I don't mean to insult my strippers because I know I love you. But it's safer to be a stripper or a taxi driver than to be a fucking banker. That's how we got the game so flipped upside down and we can't process our reality, is because we've been told these ideas that are actually not true.
Nothing to say.
Finish this one and then we go one more and we call it a day. Finish this one?
Void. That was loud.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
Jesus.
There you go. Bring it loud in.
Void, Marlon Brando, a quiet actor if there ever was one, once said, is terrifying to most people. It is almost as if we are assaulted by silence or confronted by it, particularly if we've allowed our ego to lie to us over the years which is so damaging for one reason. The greatest work and art comes from wrestling with the void, facing it instead of scrambling to make it go away.
Okay, yo. I get a lot of questions about, because I'm the woo-woo guy, right? A lot of questions about meditation. I can't do meditation because I can't sit quiet, still, one place. I can't be by myself without no, because we're afraid of that void. That's why you can't sit there, because a lot of times we're afraid of that void. We go to sleep with music going. We do this with something talking. We got the radio or TV always playing. We always got to be. You got to fill the air with some shit because we're afraid to be by ourselves. Which goes back to the self. What really is self-love? What really is self-love is being able to face yourself and be able to sit with yourself and look at yourself and be with yourself and accept yourself when there ain't nothing around. It's the quiet, the void. Our country makes billions of dollars off of that fear of silence. A negotiator will whoop your ass with that. They'll sit there because they know the first person to talk loses. And they've already got equipment in the software in their head to know not to speak because the fearful person who can't stand that void is going to break and talk. Okay, well, what about this? That's because of this. And if you ain't practicing it, if you ain't practicing at all times, sitting in silence, sometimes mobbing around in your car with nothing, no music, just your thoughts. Some of us are scared of our fucking thoughts. Get comfortable with them. Get comfortable with that void, and then you'll also get comfortable in the future with having your head down, just going after it.
And let me add another thing too. They leaked something in here really quick and really fast. So everything he just said, which I've seen it happen, where you always need some kind of noise in the room, whether it's a device or whether it's a TV or whether it's a conversation that don't mean nothing. I'm talking about what it doesn't mean. I'm talking about, goddamn, if you could tell me what that conversation meant, I will give you $100. It meant not a goddamn thing. But let me add one more layer to that. He said, we allow our ego to lie to us over the years, which is so damaging for one reason. Let me just stay with that line right there. That means that we told ourselves so much about ourselves, we don't want to be by ourselves. Because that's what we have to see, the real version of who we are. You realize, excuse this language for those at home who are Christian, close your ears for a second. You may realize at that very moment you ain't shit. You may realize you're not that person you thought you were. You may realize, and here's the thing, it's not even a bad thing because you can improve and grow from there. It's not a bad thing. But because your brain is kind of like, the way you process and thought is very static and very fixed, your thoughts are so fixed that if you say I'm not something, then you in yourself, you'll say I am, because I say I'm not something, then I'm not something. Not realizing that identifying where you are only allows you to chart a true path of growth. But if you're not clear of where you are, everything you're doing has nothing to do with where you are and what you need. And so that moment of silence is a moment to, and it ain't like you know what's behind the door, but you just keep closing the door. It's that when you open a door to go get something, every once in a while something falls out you didn't want to fall out. And when it falls out, the pain of what falls out makes you so uncomfortable. You close that door and say, you know what, I'm just going to go over here and practice noise. Mm-hmm. And so that fake it till you make it has become a runaway bus. And it's caused so much damage, we don't want to go see the damage anymore. We just rather believe that, hey, you know what, I want to just think about what my intent was. And here's the thing. Howard Thurman also Howard Thurman was bringing heat. I got some more going to keep coming out here and there because the man brought so much heat. He said, you know, in life we make decisions sometimes that we intended them to be this way, but the outcome got away from us. We literally said, my intention was to do this. I didn't intend for that to happen over here. I did not intend for that to happen. And yet we shame ourselves because the outcome was not what we wanted, not seeing what we intended. Loving yourself and valuing yourself is accepting the pretty as well as the mistakes and the ugly.
Amen, brother.
Because the ugly sometimes it's only a state of mind. It's not really ugly at all. But when you learn to only see yourself for the things you wish to celebrate, and this is how you know you're that person. Is you sensitive when people make comments about you that doesn't praise you. Y'all know how you walk down the street every day, and if you talk to people and you're not praising them, you're going to be arguing with them, or you're going to be fighting with them, or you're going to be mad, they're going to be mad at you, or they might not even talk to you again. So you have to walk through society like, hey, you look good. Hey, baby, you tight. Man, is that Chicago Bulls? Love them, love you. Hey, is that Corey Smith? You know I love you, love him, love you. Hey, you writing? You know I write. I love you too. When you have to live that life, are you in that world? You're that person who's running from yourself. That person that says, if you talk to me, if you can't say something positive, don't say nothing at all. That's a cold. I think this one's one of the ones where you got to go home and sit with it. And you might not be able to go home. You know, you might be in this class and you can't sit with none of this shit.
This was a deep one. This whole class. It's a deep one.
I can't even make this soft tonight. Let's just hit this last one. Let's go home with a salute. Let's make this last one. Let's do it.
They work quietly in the corner. They turn their inner turmoil into product and eventually to stillness. They ignore the impulse to seek recognition before they act.
That's when you can ignore the impulse to seek recognition before they act. Look, let me tell you something about this game. And some of you guys may not get it. When you first start, listen, let me be compassionate and real as possible. When you first become an entrepreneur, you bring in all that drama and flawed behavior and fallacies and ego and emotional rigidity, and you bring in all that shit to the table. You walking in there with all that messy shit. You sitting down dropping all those raggedy ass luggage with all those dirty ass clothes, and you starting your mission. We're not attacking you at the gates. Let me be very clear. Because we started off with the same ass raggedy ass clothes, with IKEA bags and suitcases. We did all the same raggedy stuff with tape wrapped around so when we put it through luggage, it doesn't lose our clothes. And what we discovered is we couldn't stay there. This is not about judging you. There's nobody listening to this class that's worthy of being disrespected. What we're trying to explain to you is how you need to move on. If you stay there, then you don't get to echo over and over your frustrations because now you're wallowing in the mud. And at some point, those of us who can help you are going to walk on. You couldn't be like, no, this ain't working. And I don't say, well, go home and change this. You change it? Nah, because it ain't working. Okay, did you sit down and think about it? Nah, it ain't working. Okay, well, did you pull yourself out of it? Nah, it ain't working. Do me a favor, lose my number. And this is happening this is not Nana. I don't want y'all to get narrow. This is not about Nana. We all need support. We are literally pushing our support away because of the way we're showing up to ourselves. That level of self-honesty, accountability, authenticity brings a different quality of friend around you. If you look up one day and you fall because you're out in the streets and you made a bad decision, you say, help! And all your friends leave and go to the party. That's because of how you showed up to your friends. You built those friends. But if you scream help and people come running, you might say, well, no, you know, what if I don't need no help? I'm okay, whatever. That's my feminine voice. When you run your business, don't think you're going to go out there and get all your customers by yourself. Your friends are walking salespeople. Your friends ain't selling if you ain't authentic. I don't trust you to put my brand on your behavior, your inconsistencies, your lack of awareness, I don't know what the fuck you really are. Even though I like you as a person because I care as a human being, but I don't really know what the fuck you gonna do because you never the same person because you don't deal with yourself. The inner and the outer are having two different experiences. And now you want me to go out and sell you to this huge opportunity. Or I won't even forge an opportunity. What do I mean by forge an opportunity? I'm in a room with a group of people, and I won't even say, Jonathan is doing this. I wonder if, Court, can you work with Jonathan? Hey, Court, do you know this is a guy named Jonathan provides a service. Do you need that service?
No, I ain't fucking with Jonathan. I'm just kidding.
But you won't even forge possibilities if Jonathan is not even worthy of being brought up at that party. See, how you show up every day is not an act of morality. It's an act of survival. It's an act of quality of life. You're not rising to the highest level of existence and knowledge and wisdom and morality because you just want to go through the heaven of death. You're rising that because you want the heaven of life.
Yo, let me point something out too, which is a really good and dope presupposition in this paragraph. And that is...
Wait, stop. The brother from East Oakland Hood just said presup... I can't... What's the word he just said? You don't know... Did you get the word, Ben, back there? Okay, maybe we might go back and rewind this shit so we can get some intelligence on it. Because he just got to the big ass... This is East Oakland right here. Anyway, look here, black folks. If y'all got kids, go get your kids and let them hear this man talk. And let them know this is what like a real black dude sound like. Anyway, I'm back. I'm gonna sit back here and listen for myself. Go ahead, brother. Supposition? Was he say supposition?
All right, presupposition.
Presupposition. Can you Google that for me so when we leave here I can be on top of my shit? Thank you, bro. Thank you. Go ahead.
Good. Thank you. So it says they ignore the impulse to seek recognition before they act. They ignore the impulse to seek recognition before they act. So that what's dope about this is that it removes the idea that something's wrong with you if you don't have these impulses, because it's already supposing that you're gonna have them. So we all are raggedy in that sense, to where no one's perfect to say, oh, you have impulses to seek recognition before you act. I don't care about recognition. All of us humans suffer from that shit from time to time. And in entrepreneurship, it can swell up and it can make you make decisions that probably not the best decision if hindsight. But the difference between the two is that we're the same. I'm no better than you. You're no better than me. We both have these fucking impulses to or just to feel recognized or to get some attention. But a seasoned or a more seasoned entrepreneur ignores them. Yeah, shut the fuck. Calm down. Relax. This is bad timing. This ain't the time. And so it's not about you getting to a place of Zen, Buddhism, whatever, to where these impulses just disappear and all the shit stops happening to you and you could just cruise through. You're going to have the same impulses as somebody who just started. Is the seasoned one can get to them before it comes out of them. And that's what's dope. And know that. So this dude is not some person who walks around and doesn't feel the same bullshit you feel. It's you work the muscle that you're stronger than it. We just... So certain parts of us is stronger than it. That motherfucker, that impulse motherfucker is still sitting back, chilling in the cuts, waiting, hoping you get weaker or drunk or high or hijacked or distracted or got hella businesses at the same time or something to where it could slip in quick. But the practice that we have that you want to have allows you to have clarity to back up, motherfucker. Nope, go back in there. And that's the key. As a successful entrepreneur. Check, 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 check. Check, 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 check. Check, 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 check. Back, back, no. Why did you flip me off, Josh?
I was hurt.
You was hurt by what?
What y'all said earlier
What did we say?
about them ears. My
Your-
feelings were just I couldn't suppress.
What did
the
we say about your
compulsion.
ears?
No, something else. I couldn't suppress the compulsion. I'm not a seasoned entrepreneur. I just acted out.
You acted out
Yeah, I did.
like a spoiled little kid.
No, I was just jealous.
You just jealous.
Hey, but finish. Go back a little bit on that point. I want you to finish that point before we go home.
Just just understand that all of those variables that jump out inside you that make you feel some type of way or feel not successful or that you're not ready or that you're a fuck up, all of those things that are part of where you come from and the trauma and all the pain and how you it doesn't leave. Those things don't leave. It's just you get stronger. You know what they say, you don't pray to God for the pain to go away. You pray to God for you to get stronger. The stronger you get, the weaker the pain feels.
That's well said.
So entrepreneurship is the same. We building muscle. We're not trying to make those impulses go away. We're trying to build muscles so that it's way stronger than those impulses.
Let me share the other side of this too. It does feel good when you get praise and you don't see it coming. It does feel good. When you put your head down, because you're not looking for it. A few years back, I took Diallo to a concert in the Redwoods when En Vogue was performing. So I walk in, nothing on my mind besides let's go get to our seat because I want you out En Vogue live. And I think Confunction was there. Confunction comes on the stage, Nasser comes out, 510 Media's in the house. Oh shit, okay, feel good. And somebody else threw a shot. I mean, different people start throwing shots. Then KBLX threw a shout out to 510 Media. Mind you, I don't know all these people. En Vogue comes on stage, starts singing, and gives out a shot to 510 Media and comes over and sings to me. And I was sitting there going, this is great when you're performing, but you're not looking for it. And when it comes, it's the ultimate compliment, which motivates me to go back and shut the fuck up and go work and focus again. But going out trying to accelerate that process is the job. I don't want that as a job. I want to go do the work, and if somebody says something, look, let my accomplishments be something we talk about in hindsight, right? Let it be talked about by my children. But you can't focus on that when you're doing the work. You can't focus on becoming the number one actor in the story you're trying to create. If you do that, that is the job. That is your job. You'll make more decisions for status over wealth. You won't do this and that. You'll be a this or that type person all day long. And so now if you're in a world where status is how you get paid, like this new culture of .com and they have to just status, but just know this, status is a self-employment trap. Because you can't work towards systems because you'll be too focused on identifying self. I think it was Columbia Pictures. You know, the reason they failed is because the owner was very self-centered, and when he died, the company fell in shambles because nobody could repeat what he was doing because he held the power of the company to him. So when he went away, the company started to fight and bicker and things fell apart. But when Walt Disney died, he built such a hell of a system that when he died, the system just continued to grow and expand. So it's so important to understand that the I story is a limit story. Just like if you want to make it simple for your brain to process, I will die. I know that sounds real, but I will die. I will not live forever. So why are you building everything around you? I could get hit by a bus next week because life ain't promised to us. You want your children to suffer from this whole I idea that we put on this earth? Do you want your people to lose from all your efforts? Playing the long game. Do we have any questions before we go home? We good? With that being said, love everybody. We got to figure this sound thing out. We brought a brand new EQ. I don't have no idea, but we love you guys. We see y'all soon. We'll be back. Hopefully we gave you enough to chew on. See y'all next week. Peace.
Peace.